All right.
Thanks for doing laundry.
Yeah, no problem. Dang it! Now I have to redo the whole thing. Great. Oh boy, that's annoying. Do, do, do. Oh, come on, work. Do 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 do. Oh boy, setting everything up. Ba 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 da. There we go. Oh, that's so annoying. That's so funny. Oh, mentioning a public role. Okay. Interesting. Oh well, whatever. Oh, that's so annoying. Okay, well, so much for advertising there. I might as well advertise in my own server, right? And then hopefully Squid will be here soon. All right. So we're gonna see if anyone stops by at the moment. If anyone has stopped by already, feel free to hang around. Just waiting for my at least one other panelist to come in, and then we will continue doing what we generally do. Let's see. Oh, I need to also post in here. Do this in this server. I know I won't be timed out. Sigh. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Promote yourself. Yes, though I will have to get rid of that. There we go. Okay. Now just wait for people to show up. Say, hey, Sephi, how's it going? Coffee should be showing up fairly soon. I just know there's a good amount of rain over there. I don't know why they're always late. I don't care if they see the recording of me saying that. They're always late. Might have to ask Noah for boat advice. True. I wonder, obviously, in terms of biblical historicity, which is still kind of a weird word for me to say, I guess. It's like we know Jesus certainly might have existed as like a real person. I wonder if Noah did. Or is there no way? Haha, haha, haha. No way. That's gonna be the cause of my first Twitch ban or something. All right, coffee should be coming in any second now. Haha, yeah. Very sad about it. So on another one of the no, I'll just say this when the others get here. It's very unfortunate stuff. Funny, but yeah. In 30 minutes, yeah. Yes, then he gets hours or something. Yeah, great. Yes. It didn't notify me the first time, but yeah, no, I actually got permission to post and ping in the server that's been supporting the stream, and turns out I didn't have permissions. I got timed out for 2 minutes. I was like, okay, well, I won't put the Discord link in this time, and so I just used a public ping, and I got timed out again. So that has another 24.5 minutes going. Oh, man. Gonna tell the server owner about all that. Maybe when she gets back, she'll switch it up for me. Hey, what's up, Coffee?
Yeah. Apparently, you were making fun of me.
Oh,
you were
yeah,
roasting me, dude.
all the time, yeah. Whenever you're not here, that's all Squid and I talk about.
I don't know. I drink too much caffeine or something. I'm a
he's fiending.
I am
So,
always fiending. Oh my gosh.
all right, well, I have
I don't
the.
have any internet. What the fuck?
Why don't you have it? Are you on your phone right now?
I am on my phone, but hold on.
Oh no.
Yeah, we have a storm over here. Okay, we're
Yeah.
chilling. We have a storm over here, so we're kind of
Hmm.
fucked. We have even tornado warnings, which
Yeah, I
is
think
so
we
nice.
we have a tornado watch down here, and we're like 3.5, 4 hours away from you. Let's see. So I talked with the owner of Aurora Debates, and
Yeah.
she gave me permission to post a link to our Discord and
Hell
to
yeah.
do a mass ping for everyone when the stream starts. And so the first time I posted, it's like, oh, I've got put in timeout for 2 minutes for posting the Discord link. I was like, okay, I'll just wait the 2 minutes and do it again. And then I got put in time. Well, I removed the Discord link the second time, and it was like, so you can't ping everyone. Now you're in a 30-minute timeout. It's like, great.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah. So I contacted the owner, and we'll see.
What's good, Seffi? How are you doing? How is the lovely bunny doing? Oh, I gotta do something real quick. I gotta do my annual thingy. Hold on.
Oh, what?
It says I have. Oh, there we go. Uh, oh, hell yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah, bunny.
I dyed a dress. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, that's where. I got a little water. I'm gonna have to get some more water.
Yeah, it's the same here. I got like a black tea lemonade from work, so I'm chilling.
So doing all right. Yeah.
What color did you dye it?
That's.
My hands are okay. Now I know, black and purple. I would
Let's
assume.
see. Do. I was thinking. Actually, one of the reasons she suggested, linking the Discord and everything, putting like all the info, the topics and everything in her Discord was so we could potentially get like call-ins from the Discord because it's a debate server. So
Oh,
I was
okay.
like, that
I
would
see.
be. Is like that is a good idea. So I tried.
That Christian nationalism's real
Oh,
bad.
bad. I mean, it's true.
That's sort of. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's real bad. Does purple, black, and yellow one on white dress, so it hopefully ends up looking like the non-binary flag. Heck yeah! Wait, what? Did it?
What?
What? Why did it? What?
Did it flag you?
It flagged them for using non-binary. That's so stupid. But now it's allowed.
Fucking
So,
non-binary.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm just gonna have to like do it as it goes. Probably because I'm not gonna know everything everyone ever is gonna type in there. Damn. Mo, would you like to react to more Jordan Peterson?
Ugh. Yeah, I guess.
Yes. I mean, we can watch something else. There's other things.
No, you're good. It's just like, oh, this motherfucker.
This guy. Oh well, but now it's on the fun guest or the fun interlocutor, I guess. The famous one,
Peterson. How are you
Squid.
doing? Danny, nice to meet you.
Hey, how's it going,
Hello.
Squid?
Danny,
Hello, sorry
you
I'm a little
say
late.
atheists
You're
worship
You're chilling.
things or people.
Danny was the aggressive one. They're just chilling.
What are we watching?
I mean, we're planning on doing some more Jordan Peterson stuff. So right now, I'm waiting to not be timed out in Aurora debates because Eris, the owner, she said that she gave me permission to post our Discord in there, ping, do like a mass ping to everyone
Right.
for the server. So the first time I did it, it was like, oh, it timed me out for 2 minutes. for posting a Discord link. I was like, okay, well, I'll just remove that the next time. And then I got timed out for 30 minutes because I had a public ping in there. So I was like, great. Dumb. I mean, I can still do not a full mass ping, but I can do a good amount of people ping.
I'm sure if you just ask her, she'll.
I did. Well, we talked about it before I started streaming, and yeah, no, she just needs to give me permissions, which she said she'll do when she gets home.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So one reason she suggested I do all of that in the server is because it's a debate server, so we'd probably have some callers from there.
I concur.
Yeah. All right. Well, in the meantime, we're gonna watch Jordan Peterson get pissed off at Danny.
Sounds lit.
Yeah.
Or places, whatever. Can you Hey, Dr. Peterson.
How you doing?
Danny, nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Danny.
Danny.
You say atheists worship things or people or
PBS
whatever.
suing Trump administration over defunding.
Oh, because Trump defunded the PBS. Did that actually go through?
Yeah.
If
Well-
there's even like probable cause.
Yeah, even NPR. Oh, wow, NPR as well. What the
I
fuck?
wonder.
Do
I
we
need
wanna
to
look
read the
into that?
laws on it because the reason you could sue is you would basically say Congress made the law that you have to give us funding, so
Yeah.
you can't actually defund us. Like that's not within your purview.
Yeah.
But if it was made by executive order, then I feel like PBS and NPR are just like fucked.
I think they were legislative.
Yeah, it
let's
just
look it
depends how they came
Uh,
about. Oh yeah, then he's fucked.
Yeah, PBS was not directly formed by Congress. However, Public Broadcasting Act of 67, which was passed by Congress, established the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CBP, a private nonprofit corporation which subsequently created PBS. Okay, so
wait, no. So
CBP.
PBS is a publicly funded, is run by a private corporation but publicly funded,
private non
authorized by Congress to act as a
Yeah.
steward of the federal funding.
Okay.
Whatever. I need to read the lawsuit. I'm just
Yeah.
just reading that. It sounds like you could cut out all funding for PBS, but you'd need to go.
You need to go through CPB.
Yeah, you'd need to do something else. I can go read the Public Broadcasting Act.
In
of
which Congress
1977.
did establish the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. So that could be
You guys can go. I can come back with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
update.
Coffee. Are you watching my screen?
No, I don't wanna.
You don't
I
want
got
it.
you.
Look,
I
man.
don't wanna.
Look, man. Gotta react to something.
Look. Boom,
Hey, Dr. Peterson.
boom. What the fuck? All right, it's being weird. I'm gonna leave and then come back.
All right. I'm surprised Discord didn't automatically do stream mode. Not that it matters, to be honest.
All right,
I mean,
beautiful.
I can
I'm good to
see
go.
that, yeah.
Danny, nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Danny.
Danny.
You say atheists worship things or people or places, whatever. Can you be very clear about your definition of worship again?
Attend to, prioritize, and sacrifice for.
Okay, that's it. That's your understanding of worship.
Well, I could flesh it out, but that'll do for the time we have.
Okay. Do Catholics attend to Mary?
Yes,
Okay. So do they fit that description of worship?
yes,
So you would say Catholics and other people that revere Mary, like the Eastern Orthodox tradition, worship Mary.
well, they might not put her in the highest
But you would
place.
put it that way.
No,
You just said it. Now you're taking it back
there's
now?
still a hierarchy.
Okay, there's a hierarchy, but within
And
the
there's something at the top.
All right, you can worship things
Mary is
below.
quite a ways up the hierarchy, but not at the top.
Let's go over your definition of worship again. What's your definition of worship?
Attend to,
Attend to. Do
prioritize, and
Catholics
sacrifice for.
do Catholics attend to? Do they prioritize Mary over all other human beings?
No, I didn't say overall, did I? I didn't add that to my definition.
You understand.
I said there was a hierarchy as well.
You attend.
So you can attend to something trivially, or you can attend to it deeply.
And now you're adding stuff to the definition. But your original definition.
I added the hierarchy part at the beginning.
Are you familiar?
Just didn't understand it.
Are you familiar with the Immaculate Conception?
Why is that relevant?
Because you go to a Catholic church, don't you? Or you've attended recently. You're interested in Catholicism, aren't you?
Sure.
All right. Are you familiar with their doctrines?
Somewhat.
Okay, you're
Their
familiar.
doctrines are very
How do they
deep.
regard?
Danny's just trying to get him to admit that he's a Christian. Basically, that was like I saw Danny have like a little follow-up video, and he was basically he's like, yeah, no, I'm just kind of sick of Jordan Peterson always like dodging the Christian question, and so he just kind of tried going in on it here.
How do they regard Mary?
Why are you asking me that?
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
Okay.
You don't know
Trump
where
lawsuit
you
is
are right
stupid.
now.
Don't be a
Or like
smartass.
Trump ending
know.
the Trump ending PBS thing is incredibly stupid. Like I'm reading one, the establishment of the corporation is in the law that they
Thanks,
signed.
Effie.
So legally speaking, Trump is required to have this corporation run. Like it's in the law. It says in the law, establishment of a corporation for a nonprofit corporation. So this is like a government constructed nonprofit corporation. So it
Yeah.
has to exist.
Yeah,
And then how it funds its programming is like largely not determined by
the executive branch.
government. Because I'm pretty sure the point of this thing was to create just like a neutral media.
Yeah,
Because he's saying it's biased, but in the fucking thing, in the construction of the corporation, the president appoints the board of directors. The only thing that's restricting him is he just can't appoint the board of directors from the same party. That's it. Like at least half have to be from the other party.
Mhm.
So it's So like, he's looking at a piece of media that is designed to be as unbiased as possible, that he can appoint half the board of director or like all the board of directors. They just don't even have to be from his party. So theoretically, you could get somebody who's like a Democrat, but is a Trump Democrat, if that such a thing exists, right?
yeah.
And he would be fine. So, one member shall be selected from among individuals who represent the licenses and permittees of the public television stations, and one shall be selected from the. Okay, yeah. So his reasoning for doing it is stupid, and I don't think he can, because this is like this was created as an independent body outside of his control. So I think he's fucked. Just reading
Yeah,
the
yeah.
law.
There's no way he should be able to dismantle it, basically.
I mean, if it was created by executive order, 100%, he'd be able to
Sure.
dismantle it. But
Yeah, but it's not.
everything about NPR and the PBS was created by Congress, including the company that runs it, which is what gets the funding, and then that gives the funding to PBS and NPR. So, like, if the corporation wanted to end those programs, that would be fine, because the corporation would just be like, whatever, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But this corporation is not under the purview of the president.
Yeah, so there's no way that you can legally defund them.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
I think
There
he's
shouldn't
fucked.
be anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he's just throwing like spaghetti against the wall, seeing what sticks.
Yeah,
Probably.
the problem is he's just weaponizing the legal system, where
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna cut funding, and then it's gonna take
Yeah.
at least like 6 months for anything to happen with his case. So there's gonna be like
Yeah.
6. So then are this fucked?
Yeah.
Like you'll probably have
doesn't-
judges put a pause on it, but then he's like, well, I'm not gonna put a pause on it because I control the flow of funds because I'm the executive branch, so I'm the one who executes on the funding as well as everything else. So it's just like everything's fucked.
How much you want to bet he would actually just like try and instate his own public broadcast network or something?
Oh, 100%,
Yeah.
100%, absolutely. Or what he'll do is he'll cut funding and he'll threaten to keep funding cut
Yeah.
unless they report positively on him, which then defeats the whole purpose of
yeah.
the like this
Them
thing.
existing.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
purpose of this thing is to be like purposefully as neutral as possible, where
yeah.
there's 9 board of directors, but one of them just represents television, and then another one represents radio, and then you have to make sure half are Democrats and the other half are
It's
Republicans.
it's kind of crazy that like NPR is considered left leaning now.
It's like center. It's not even that far left.
I know.
It's
That's
center left.
that's one of the crazy things about it.
Yeah, they're all still capitalists over there.
Yeah,
Like they're pretty
like,
relaxed.
Yeah, no, envy. It just pisses me off. It's like, oh, it disagrees, so it must be wrong, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god. It's like, no, it just happens to be right, and you hate that, or whatever.
Yeah, or like
it's just so dumb. It's just so dumb.
yeah, like his virtue objectives and yeah, I don't know. It's stupid.
It's a
Makes me wanna throw
tragedy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, you guys can continue now.
Alrighty,
I'll keep reading. I'll have an update
you're
if
good.
anything happens.
we can put it up as another topic. It's like,
Yeah.
don't destroy
banning PBS was illegal and stupid.
Yeah.
For cutting funding was.
Trump is dumb. There you go.
Yeah, just put
Either
it up
you're
there.
what? Trump is dumb.
Trump is dumb. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty
I mean,
easily
so-
defendable position.
Yeah, I mean, like, you would know. You would definitely know more than if you're comfortable talking about it. Then I'll definitely put it up there. Like
comfortable
me,
talking
I'm
about
just like I don't know like all the policies and shit.
You don't need to know every policy to know
I know.
he's still dumb.
Fair enough. Okay.
He's been quoted as saying, "I've
True.
written more books than I've read." Like, he
That's
doesn't do shit. He's a fucking moron.
That's true. Let's see. Trump is dumb. Boop. And make this a little bigger. Boop. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Let
they're
me get
saying-
rid of the little video game thing. There we go. All right. So, and I got like another 10 minutes before I can actually post into that Discord, which I'll just have to do it within a limited scope, which is fine. Whatever. Better than nothing.
Christian
I won't
or you're
talk
not.
to you if you're a smartass.
Oh, either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
I could be either of them, but I don't have to tell you.
You don't have to tell me. I was under the impression I
private.
was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video,
You're really quite something, you are.
aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him. Hi there.
Hi, nice
What's
to
your
meet you.
name?
Gerard.
Hello, Gerard.
This
Nice to
guy's
meet you, sir.
haircut.
So you've said that worship is when you prioritize and sacrifice for something, right?
Yeah.
What the
Okay,
fuck? He
I-
just
There's a
like got a
hierarchy.
part in his
Sure.
sideburn.
So I prioritize
Yeah, I know,
and
it's crazy.
sacrifice for my wife
And he's
more
like got
than
a
I would
Lego
prioritize
head.
and
Yeah, I
sacrifice for
know.
a random person on the street, right?
It bothers
Probably,
me.
yeah.
Presumably. Do I worship
I don't know.
my
I've
wife?
seen some pretty bad,
He's gotta use-
marriages.
It's
Assuming
what's
a good
gotta be is
marriage,
he's
are you
using,
saying I
like,
worship?
What's that?
Hairspray. Like this is like a
Yeah.
hairspray kind of a look.
Yeah.
But anyway, continue.
It's not like quite gel. It just looks.
Yeah, exactly. That's why
hard.
like usually hairspray is what gives you that like Lego look.
Yeah. So just
fuck yeah,
layered
we
it
go.
on. Maybe it's both. It's so weird.
Worship my wife?
But you
I'm
know,
trying to define worship.
maybe he's just
That's
trying
what
to
I'm
be
asking.
different.
So prioritize and sacrifice.
You,
I do
the
those
higher it
things.
is in the hierarchy,
Oh,
the more
you know
what
what?
you're doing
Actually,
is akin
hold
to-
That's what I'm asking. So prioritize and
You see the line right here.
Mm.
He might have actually got he might have
Hair
had
transplant?
yeah, hair transplant maybe.
Oh. We're just judging this guy.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway, fuck Jordan Peterson, but also this guy's got a goofy ass hair.
well, maybe if you did get a hair transplant, it'll be fine soon.
sacrifice. I do
the
those
higher
things.
it is in the hierarchy, the more what you're doing is akin to worship. But even in your trivial acts of attention, you're prioritizing and partaking in worship, even if you don't know it.
So I am
And it's
prioritizing.
partly, well, with regard to your wife, say. So why do you value your wife? You do value your
Yes,
wife.
I love
okay.
her, so I prioritize and I sacrifice for her.
Right. So that's within the confines of love, let's say.
Sure.
What else does it serve?
What else does what serve?
Your love and your marriage?
I mean, I'm married to my wife because I love her. That's also why I prioritize and sacrifice for her. I certainly wouldn't think I worship her, and I don't think anyone else would make that.
I'm
Are you
trying to
making
make
that
a
claim?
definition.
Okay.
Yeah, that there's a hierarchy of attentional priority,
about to
and
say
as you
something out of
move
pocket.
up it or down it, depending
Yeah,
on
make
whether
it
you
happen.
think about it as a pinnacle or a
What?
Said say it, make it happen.
I was like, depending on the woman, I might worship her.
Hey.
foundation, you move more towards worship. Right,
Okay.
so even the small things,
So
I'll give you an example. Imagine you go on a date.
You got some more
I
stuff?
mean, no. Now I'm listening to the video. I mean, there is an extra part, literally within the law, where it says purpose and activities of the corporation.
Yeah.
Section G1A says that they want to facilitate a bunch of stuff with strict adherence to objectivity and balance in all programs or series of programs of a controversial nature. So it's literally in the law of the corporation that it has to be objective and balanced, which it is. Like, it's just Trump's just mad that it's not nice to him.
That the true
it's-
shit makes him look bad.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not
Like,
that
it is
shit
it is
makes
just the most transparently, like, he's just mad about what they're
Definitely
saying.
true.
And I mean, if
It-
it would be like going up to something I guess whatever, some fucking knuckle dragger would be like, 1984, it's called the Ministry of Truth. Doesn't mean it is the Ministry of Truth. It's like, okay, then dipshit, name me one time NPR was like wrong, and then they're not gonna say anything because they don't even watch NPR because they're an idiot. Then whatever.
Like every news source, including those ones, are gonna have stuff wrong on occasion. Just
Yeah.
like probably a much lower chance.
Yeah,
And
or
with
just
less bias, at
really, it
least.
would just
At
be
least
like
less
in
bias.
what, yeah, or like in a biased way. Like, what's the bias?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not like the Jacobin where it's a fucking socialist newspaper or something. It's just like center left. It has Sesame Street.
It's
Like, right?
it's like I'm Sesame Street's communist. What can I say?
Yeah, we're defunding Elmo. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
That's the next Elmo that comes out. Instead of Tickle Me Elmo, it's Defund Me Elmo.
Yeah, it's defund me Elmo, and he's begging on the street because he has
Just
no
crying,
like, yeah, because he can't actually like afford anything anymore. Because Donald
I
Trump
can't
fucking...
do an Elmo impression. No, but
Dude, that's
it's-
how you win. This is the real way you win the youth vote. Is the children right now. What you do is the Democrats tell them from the ages of like 1 to 18 that like Donald Trump took away Elmo from you, and now you're gonna have everyone of the next generation be like, "Fuck Donald Trump. He took away
like,
Elmo.
you piece
Fuck
of
the
shit."
Republicans."
Mm-hmm.
But then for as far as like the faith thing he's talking about, where it's like you worship your wife, I think if I were arguing against Jordan Peterson, I would just like concede on like 90% of the semantic shit and just be like, whatever, because it's just at the end of the day, it's just like words.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, what's like the content of the action specifically? So when you're talking about like worshiping your wife, it's like maybe in a certain sense, sure, I like worship my wife insofar as I put her. If you want to define worship as like placing something at the top of things that I value, and whatever's at the top, you like by necessity kind of worship that thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever, if we want to say that, sure.
It's like
And
we
be
could use a different words here. Like
yeah, everyone
Yeah.
would prefer we use a different word because it's clearly not what everyone's like meaning, and
Yeah.
you're just trying to like force it into a certain thing.
yeah.
But then it would be like, well,
Honestly,
how
worship
is-
becomes trivial at that point.
yeah,
Sure.
exactly. Worship just means you like something
Something-
a lot more than everything else. Like that's
Yeah.
all it means. And that like
I
by-
worship coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. You worship coffee, and like by pursuing the thing, you are worshiping the thing that you like more than everything else. You're like worshiping it, but that's just like a colossal waste of everyone's like.
It's like, do I
That's
have a
just-
favorite hobby? Yeah, I worship that hobby. or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like you're just destroying the category in an attempt to like make everyone think that they are quasi-religious, as opposed to like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
reality where it's like you believe there's a God and I don't. That's it. Like that's the hard line that's gonna like separate us out here. So like let's talk about that first.
Well, imagine that your aim is a long-term relationship like a marriage. Okay, now imagine that
Oh, yeah, I can
your
post it
aim
down.
is short-term sexual gratification. Your pattern of attention is going to vary during the date, depend on your ultimate end.
Of
That's
course.
the hierarchy. The way that you attend to your wife is dependent on your ultimate aims, even if you don't know it.
So at what point is it worship? Because it sounds
What
like you're
the
saying
fuck?
worship is almost a spectrum, right?
Do you want me to
It's
pause?
not a-
Jesus.
Here, go ahead.
Whatever. That was just horrible. Why was he dressed like that?
Wait.
Jesus
oh,
God.
Hold on.
At what
No, the
point
dude-
is it
Oh,
worship?
that
'Cause it
dude.
sounds
Oh,
like you're
Ian?
saying worship is
That's I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know why they they just have the tie like that. They
It's
tend to
not even all the way up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they Ian goes by they them, but like yeah, I wonder if it was just to maybe try and get a rise out of Jordan Peterson, because they don't typically wear a tie when they're like streaming or anything. So I think it's like a mocking thing.
They lost the debate already.
What?
You dress like a clown, you
just-
lose the debate.
True.
Just come in, you lose instantly. But yeah, that's interesting choice. I'm not gonna make any. I will make a statement, and then inferences can be drawn from this statement. The only person who I've seen dressed like that was my roommate with Asperger's.
Oh, I think.
All right.
Well, Ian is autistic, I think. So.
Oh damn! Well,
Yeah.
They are on the spectrum, I think.
Yeah.
I make.
yeah.
I don't know,
I
though.
make no further
I will make
comment.
that
They've
comment.
said that they're on the spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will refrain from getting edgier. I know that we're all cool and friendly here.
I hear it though. I can hear it.
Okay, now I was actually able to fucking ping in the server. Just... Fuck.
It's almost a spectrum, right? Or it's not a binary. It's not a.
It's kind of
quantum.
like that's a good
So
question.
when
It's like
when is it worship as opposed to just I love my wife?
the closer you get to the top or the bottom, the more it's more like
How
worship.
close to the top? Because
It's
I don't
vague.
think I worship anything. And if
Yeah,
you're saying I have to
like,
hit a
you
certain
can't-
threshold for it to be worship,
Jordan
it
Peterson
is
does
possible
this
I
a
don't
lot,
worship
Yeah.
anything,
where he'll
right?
like give you a
It's not
vague.
po-
He'll be vague to your questions, but then
Yeah.
demand specificity.
Yeah.
He'll give you vague answers, but demand specific answers.
Yep.
And then this creates a problem where you're just like you're fighting fucking air. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
to hit. anymore.
Yeah.
Possible that you don't worship anything.
What do I worship?
Because you wouldn't attend. Well, love.
So you think I
Apparently.
worship love?
Do you attend in consequence of love?
I
See,
do.
I'm trying to define something. What do you mean worship? I told you what I meant. What do you mean?
So I
why didn't
mean
you ask
it's
that at
a
the
wor-
beginning?
Something you worship is something that you have a reverential view for in a manner in which you believe it to be above and beyond normal things you like. Like you
So do you
presumably
have
worship
that
God.
attitude towards your wife?
I have that
Do you
attitude.
privilege her compared to other women?
Of course, I privilege her compared to other
Okay,
women, but I don't worship her. Nor does she worship me.
By the definition you just offered, yes, you do.
This is
'Cause
such
we
a
you just
silly
offered a
semantic
definition that
argument.
involved prioritization and elevation.
Well, and thinking that she is divine above and beyond what a normal natural
women-
phenomenon can be. Not other women, no, beyond any human being could ever be. I will prioritize her over
See,
any
you're
other
making
human, but I
the
don't
assumption.
think that she is some
You're making the
supernatural being.
assumption that only the thing at the top or the bottom has anything to do with worship. And I'm saying that's not true. It's a
All right, I'm
hierarchy.
gonna leave the video running, but I'll be right
prioritization.
back.
And there's something,
Go for it.
there's either something at the top or the bottom, depending on the metaphor, or you're fragmented and confused. Those are the only options.
So let's say
you're
I'm
either
fragmented.
going in many directions
Okay.
or you're going in one
So
direction.
let's suppose I'm fragmented and confused. Then you agree I don't worship anything.
No, then you'd worship multiple things.
So
Bruh.
what's the threshold when it's worship, right? I prioritize a lot of stuff.
I said that the closer you get to the pinnacle or the
How
closer
close?
you get
Can you give me some sort of metric? How close do I got to get?
There
to
we
that?
go.
Yeah,
Do you know
quantify
the
it,
difference
please.
between cheap literature and deep literature?
Yes.
Okay, that's the same issue. And how do you?
Oh,
distinguish
nice.
between- what's
Bro,
the
he
difference
asked for a
between
metric
cheap
and then he
deep?
still gave you a
I
vague
mean, it's
metric.
really an
That was
opinion-based
sick,
thing,
bro.
right?
Is
I mean,
it? So it's
some
just
pe-
an opinion that
plenty of-
Dostoevsky is better than a porno magazine.
Well, I've spoken to people who think To Kill a Mockingbird's cheap. It's one of my favorite books. So I mean, people will differ on
Well,
opinions.
just because people are stupid about things doesn't mean that their opinion
Bruh.
is valid.
That's certainly
Do
true.
you, well,
I do
let
agree
me
with
ask
it.
you.
I agree with that.
Okay, well, do you think there is a hierarchy in literary quality?
I think
It's
that there is a
stupid.
hierarchy to an extent in literary
He's
quality,
paused
but
this.
I
We're
think
talking about
once you get
aesthetics.
to a
I put
certain
so
threshold, it
much
is just opinion. Like I
intense
agree,
thoughts about
Dostoevsky is
aesthetics.
better than a porno
Yeah,
magazine.
I would
Is
pause
Dostoevsky
it.
better
Why do
than
you think
Ernest
that?
Hemingway? I don't know.
Yeah,
Dude,
fair enough.
behavior.
Why
I
do you
hate that
think
shit.
that?
Because of what a book is, what literature is, Dostoevsky.
He's
he
literally
follows
just
what
saying like
literature
loving your
is the
wife
purpose of
and
more than a
worship
porno
is
magazine
like
Okay, good.
equivalent
good.
to just
purpose
so
and
let me.
definition.
aesthetic.
Yeah,
Like
sure,
I don't
sure.
like
Let
what does
me
that
give you
mean?
an analog.
I don't know what that means.
Depth of worship is analogous to depth of literary significance, and the closer you
tie
get
the
to what's
Last
deep,
Supper
the more
loop? What is
religious
this
and
tie?
worshipful your practice.
So to
and
use
maybe you
your
don't know what's at the bottom, but something needs to be, or you're confused.
Well, so to use your analogy, then how deep do I have to go for it to be worship? Do I have to be Catcher in the Rye? Do I have to be War and Peace? Or
Depends on what,
Is
it depends on
Twilight
what
enough?
you're seeking for.
I'm seeking to
What
know whether
the
I worship
fuck?
something. You've claimed I worship something, and I
If
want
you
to
want
know.
to have a
the
deep
problem
and
is
meaningful
he's
life, then
conceded-
you have to
already
go all the way
conceded
to
too
the
much.
bottom or the top.
He doesn't even know what he's.
And insofar as you're capable of doing that. Because
Going
otherwise
down
you'll be
his rabbit
fragmented
hole.
and miserable
Yeah,
and
exactly. You just
anxiety-ridden
don't bother
and
to go down the
hopeless.
rabbit
So I
hole.
have
You
to
just
worship
stop.
something
You
to
just
have a meaningful
pigeonhole
life.
them into
And if I
one
There's
worship
no difference
position.
between those two things.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the same thing.
So if I don't worship anything, my life will not be meaningful, correct?
Well, that's the definition of nihilism.
Okay. So if I'm a nihilist, I don't worship anything.
That is not.
That's true. And then you
Oh, okay. You just
Definition
said
of
everybody
nihilism is
worships
no
something. I think
belief
you
in
just agreed
anything,
there's
not a
class
lack
of
of
people that
worship.
doesn't.
well, they're incoherent in their worship. And hand gestures like that aren't going to help.
All right.
Well,
Okay.
Look,
They're
if you're
incoherent.
incoherent and fragmented and aimless, which is what happens if your objects of worship are unstructured and chaotic, then you're going to be anxiety-ridden and without hope.
Oh
that
shit!
happens.
Placid wants to
That's
have a
a
conversation.
technical-
Let's just wait for.
Oh, I'm back.
Carmen
I'm back. What's up? Oh,
I
it's
don't know. Placid says
Placid.
Placid wants to talk about something.
All right. All right. Sick.
Probably give me more religious stuff, and then I'll just sit here.
Hey, Placid. What's up?
what's good?
Yo, what's up, man?
Hello.
Hey, was there something on the board that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, abortion.
Abortion?
Yeah.
Oh boy. I know you're like you're a pretty formal debater, aren't you?
No, I mean, I just like more formal arguments. You know, I think that's the best way to go about things.
All right.
What's your position?
I don't know. I'm kind of agnostic, but I would lean pro-choice. I'm just wondering
Okay.
what your justification is.
Okay.
All right, let me go ahead and pull up my shit.
I mean, my justification is like mega simple.
Yeah, Squid and I do have like a bit different.
We have a disagreement over why and how long it should be allowed.
Yeah.
I basically think it's okay to have an abortion at any point, and including 9 months, so long as the fetus or baby or whatever you want to call it, I don't care, is like within the woman. And that's because I think the moment the woman no longer wants it in her body, it counts as like an invasive force on her. She can remove
hold on. Do you have like a argument? Do you have like a formal argument, or?
Do you want me to give you like premise, conclusion? Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like premise one, I just have like I give like a hypothetical, but it'd be like premise one, woman has bodily autonomy. Premise two, fetus, invades bodily autonomy the moment the woman doesn't want it in her anymore. Conclusion, she can remove the fetus the moment she doesn't want it in her.
Okay. And what do you mean by bodily autonomy?
Right. So I would derive this from, honestly, from like property rights mostly,
Hey, Lime.
to where like
So is this
So
just
where
like
you-
an evictionist stance?
Oh, this is
Is this just evictionism?
yeah, or I don't know exactly what evictionism would be, but it would basically just be like if somebody like enters your house and they tell you the only way to get rid of me is to kill me, or I have to take your resources for the next 9 months. I think it's perfectly acceptable just to kill that person, and I would just apply the same logic to the fetus.
Okay. So how do you ground obligations?
How do I ground obligations in like society, or what do you mean?
Like under review, like how would you ground an obligation?
Like how would I ground an obligation to another person, like just generally?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it would be like social contract theory or just like literal contracts.
Okay, so do you agree with like the causal principle or no?
The causal principle? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, like if you cause a being into a state of dependency, with action X, with like foreseeability, knowledge, and consent, then you have like an obligation to the being.
If I put someone in like harm's way with
Yeah,
knowledge,
like I can give you a hypothetical, like let's say like
I hit someone in the
your
head and they go
friend-
into a coma. Do I have an obligation to take care of them? It's like something you would be asking.
That basically, yeah, but like a more realistic scenario would be like you're at the pool with your friend, and like you push him in the pool,
Mhm.
like you have an obligation to like get him out of the pool if he can't swim. And like you knew this prior to this, like you knew he couldn't swim, and you chose to push him in the pool, and he starts drowning. Like, do you have an obligation to save him?
Probably. I would want to think on it more, but I'll say yes for now, sure.
Okay, so why do you not have an obligation for pregnancy? Because it's the same.
Well,
It's the
because
same concept.
I just don't really acknowledge that. Like, I think it's just different because it's like inside the person, like it's invasive.
Mm-hmm.
Why does that matter?
And I just wouldn't consider it like even if you consent in the beginning, and that but then you're like, well, the only way to get rid of me is like I don't think I have a contract that exists between like the fetus and the person or and the woman. So even when she's like, oh, I wanted to have the child, I just don't think it matters because it's still like inflicting suffering on her, and so she can just get rid of it. Like even
Wait,
if she was even if she like wanted it in the beginning, basically.
But like if it like inflicted suffering on me to like get my friend out of the pool, I mean I'm using my property, I'm using my bodily resources to save my friend. Like my friend has some right to my body, you know. He has some sort of what's the word I forgot the word, but yeah, he has some right to my body, like in that moment, because I pushed him into the pool, right? So I'm saying, like, why, if you knew this was gonna happen, like you knew he couldn't swim, and you still chose to push him in the pool, why would this not be analogous?
It was mostly just because I like the social consequences of like just pushing people into pools when you know they're gonna drown. I think is like of worse than just abortion. Like I don't really, frankly, I just don't really.
So
Like I don't think
do you
there's
think-
much like social cost to an abortion. Like full stop.
Okay, wait, isn't that kind of like a different argument though?
Yeah, I would just need to think about it some more because I still think for me there's like this implicit contract that's been formed between like me shoving the guy in, but I think that's only formed.
Well,
There's like I just know of the danger, but there's still no like
yeah, like
like
there's
or
doesn't
if you
even need to be a
let me
contract.
put it like this: if I know the 100% certainty I can save him and not harm myself, then like obviously I do it. But if I'm like don't know if I can even save him, then no, I shouldn't bother. Like I probably
Oh,
shouldn't because
yeah.
I might drown.
Yeah, I can just change the hypo to be like, you know, this is like some, I don't know, 2-month-old baby, and you know like this is, I don't know, like a 2 feet, like a 2 foot deep pool, right? So you're not gonna get any, you're not gonna be harmed at all from saving this baby, but the baby's obviously gonna drown because the baby's not taller than 2 feet. So you push him in the pool. Do you have an obligation?
To save him?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you did it.
Okay. And so why is this not analogous?
Because I still just don't think that there's this element of like the invasive element on the body.
Well,
Like,
this
for me,
is still
like, a
invasive.
fundamental
Like
part.
you're using your bodily resources, you're using your property
Mhm.
to save this baby.
Uh,
Like like the baby's using your, like, has a right to your body.
Like has a right to my body.
Like at that moment.
Maybe. I just feel like there's like an act of like malice in this, which again
Well,
is not
like-
part of my argument, but so you could just say it's irrelevant.
Well, like a right is just like a legal or moral entitlement, right? So if you say this baby has a right to your body, it's just like you're just saying it has an entitlement to your body at that moment, since you cause it into the state of dependency.
I mean, I get like, or like you have an obligation to at least try to help if you can. I feel like I would want to think about this some more because I feel like again I would just parse this out of being like there is this element of like bodily autonomy of being being invaded upon, and like I don't there's like when you cause harm to somebody, like yeah, you have an obligation to fix that, but like I didn't cause harm. Like I don't know when having sex with somebody and then getting pregnant there's like harm has arisen.
But so you're saying that an obligation has to come from harm?
In this instance, yeah, it would have to come from harm because I caused the problem. If I didn't cause the problem, I'm under no moral obligation to do anything about it. No.
Wait, but you're causing the problem with pregnancy. Like you're causing this you know,
Right,
fetus
but
to
that's
be-
just a problem to the pregnant person.
Yeah, it's also a problem to the fetus because the fetus is dependent on you.
I mean, it's dependent on me in like a way a tapeworm is.
I mean, yeah, but it's like if you put the baby, I mean, like you were the cause of this baby being there.
So
You had some sort of causal relationship.
Okay.
And so again, I'm just saying like, if you push this
I'm-
kid into the pool,
I
Like,
think
I
what
just-
I'm
I just-
rejecting the type of causal relationship. Like the reason I'm okay with saying you should save the child is because like you have had a causal relationship that was like negative. Like you were there and you caused the harm. Like you were causing harm, but like getting pregnant is not causing that. I don't see that as like you haven't done anything immoral by participating in that action. So,
Squid, are you
I'm-
like talking about like the difference in like intention?
Yeah, it would be like maybe an intent thing, but because even then you could still maybe like knock the kid over accidentally or something, and then maybe you would still say you have an obligation. But it would just be like I don't see what harm. I like just not acknowledging that harm's happening to the fetus.
Wait, so you think
I
that
don't-
obligations can't arise, like absent harm?
Say again, sorry.
You're saying that obligations cannot arise absent harm?
As like outside of like individual, like on an individual scale, it'd just be like you caused them a harm or you like signed a contract. Those would be the only two ways that an obligation would arrive on like an individual level. On like a societal level, it would change. But
Okay. And are you holding like a gentlest possible means principle?
sorry, say again.
Are you holding like a gentlest possible means principle?
A gentlest possible means principle. Elaborate.
To like stop to like, so like you have a property rights violation, right? Because it's like the fetus is using your body. Like, do you think you should like to stop the property rights violation? Do you think you should use like gentlest possible means?
To
Meaning,
get
like,
rid
like
of
the least.
yeah, like the
uh,
least violent method to get rid
yeah.
of it. No, I don't
Yeah.
really care.
Wait, why?
I don't care. Get rid
Wait,
of it.
so like if the wait, this is just this leads to like absurdities. If so, like if a 2-year-old kid like starts tapping on your leg, or not even tapping, like grabs your leg, you can just shoot him.
No, so you can do gentlest. I just don't know like how would gentlest
Jesus
possible
Christ.
means apply to like a fetus. I don't know what that would.
Oh
mean.
yeah, I mean yeah, you just have to use like the procedure that causes the least amount of harm, like to stop this violation from occurring. So like for instance, if a D&E, if you had the choice between like a D&E and the abortion pill, you would choose the D&E, or sorry, the abortion pill, because like that's less
Yeah.
harmful than a D&E.
Okay. I mean,
So,
it's like
Well,
rational. choice,
less
yeah.
less harmful in what way?
Yeah, just less harm.
Well, it's just less harm. I
um,
mean, even if you're not talking about the fetus,
Yeah.
you can just say
Wait,
it's
wait,
less
less harm
harmful
to
for the
the-
woman because she doesn't
yeah.
get pregnant.
Okay, wait. So, what's your count of harm then?
Like, how do I determine what is harm or what isn't? I mean, I
Yeah,
just for
yeah.
me, I just have this like a priori, like, or not even a priori. I just really like property rights, basically. And I like the problem is like with the fetus, I don't think it's analogous to like, oh, the 2-year-old's tapping your leg. It's like, well, okay, you tell him to go away, and then if you can't tell him to go away, you like call the police officer to get rid of him. Like eventually you would go down the line where I'd just be like, all right, well, shoot the fucking 2-year-old because you can't get rid of him. Like eventually eventually I'd get there. Like that was one of the ways I became pro-life or pro-choice. Is I like came up with hypotheticals. I'm like, when am I okay with killing babies? And I just came up with a bunch.
Okay, I'm saying like, what's harm to you?
Like physical or like physical and like emotional harm would probably
You
both
could-
count.
Well, like, what does that mean?
Like
It's-
hurting somebody
You could call it maybe a
or
deprivation.
like causing them distress
What
unnecessarily.
is? You're not really telling me what harm is. You're
Okay,
saying
I'm-
like,
I know I'm saying
you're-
harm is harm,
Hold
but I'm
on.
just like
Yeah.
appealing to like, the
Squid-
intuitive,
Squ-
like you're being hit.
Squid, would a good definition for you? This isn't the one I used, but I think it's what some other people have used is like harm is a deprivation of rights or something like that. I think I've heard
I mean,
it.
that's part of harm. I mean, harm would just
Yeah.
be like.
I mean,
punches
harm
you
can
and
mean a
you
lot
say,
of
"Ow."
things. So
well,
Yeah.
well, like, at least to me, the most intuitive definition of harm is just a violation of interests.
yeah, violation of
frustration
interest.
of
That,
interest.
that's more what it was.
A violation of interest. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Of
would need
interest,
like I would need like more concrete hypotheticals or like
To
examples.
me, well, like, so my pro-choice stance is based on interest. So like interests are going to be things that are conducive to like your psychological flourishment. And prior to sentience or whatever, there is no psychological profile, so there are no interests, and so there's no harm because there are no interests.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just asking what harm is, because if you're saying like if you take a deprivational kind of harm, then the fetus prior to sentience can be harmed because you're depriving it of like the future.
I'm okay with harming the fetus. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm asking, what is harm to you?
It could be deprivation. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it like super deeply, because like my argument has never had any like interest in what is harming the fetus. Like I don't really care. It's only just like it is invading the woman's body. So get at it. Get it out.
Okay. And do you think like the woman's body to be like the same as her like property?
Not like exactly. Like you would probably be able to push me to places where you can't really think of it like property, because then you'd be like, well, could you sell your body into slavery or some like stupid shit like that?
Well, not necessarily
like,
that,
but like generally, I think like the bodily autonomy is like highly analogous to like why you should be able to protect your property.
okay. So, let's say I have some guy breaking into my property, or like not even my house. Let's say like I have like 100 acres of land, and he like just steps over the fence, and he goes into one of my like just 1 acre of my land, and he's just chilling there. Can I get a gun and just like shoot him?
No, you should. Well, like in a world with no society, yes. But in like a society, like in a world that exists, couched like in society, it just seems to be like easier just to do harm reduction and just at least warn him. But if you warn him and you tell him like, I will shoot you if you don't get off my property,
Okay,
and
wait,
he
wait.
refuses, and you shoot him.
Wait, okay, so what if I warn him and he starts leaving? Can I shoot him? Like
No,
while he's
then
leaving?
No, and then you don't have a reason to do it anymore because he's leaving.
Okay, wait, but isn't the fetus leaving in like 9 months?
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, I just don't think that, because it's still there. Like it would be like if somebody says I'm going to leave
The
in
guy
9
is still
months.
there.
Like let me put it this way: if you're going to ask for me to appeal to like a super specific definition of like at what time, when the time frame is, it's just going to be intuition. Like you could say like, oh well, the baby's going to leave in like a month. It's like, okay, but if I have a guy on my property and he tells me I'm not going to leave for a month, and the only way to get rid of me is to kill me, I'm okay with killing that guy. So, but if you're going to be like, well, when specifically, I'm going to be like, intuition. I'm just going to say.
Wait, seriously? So, if the only way to get this guy for property, he's just like chilling there, he's not harming you at all. Like you have 100 acres of land, he's on this one really remote acre.
I am okay with
There's
killing him.
nothing there. You're okay with killing him?
Yes. If you've warned him.
I think legally
kind of
you'd be
absurd.
allowed to kill him. You might be. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe on the
Legally,
state,
no.
depending on the state.
No,
right?
no,
Yes,
there's
you
no
would.
way. No.
Yes.
No, there's not a single state where you're allowed to do that. Because like any self-defense, like stand your ground. It's if like there's some threat to your life or like threat to your. there's no
No.
threat
If
to your
you
life,
warn
you guys-
somebody to get off
yeah.
your property, you can defend your property. I
can
can
just
assure you
kill
with
them.
I can assure you with 100% certainty.
No, it has to be proportional force. It has to be proportional force.
In self-defense cases.
Yeah,
So let me put it this way.
Yeah,
Let me put it this way. You would be expected to call the cops. That's what you would be expected to do. But in like a world
like
of no
you're in
cops,
some remote. You're in like
shoot
some
that
remote
guy.
farmland.
You shoot him.
That seems kind of absurd.
I mean, it's
Okay.
legal in many cases.
I don't care if it's legal or not. It's irrelevant.
Sure, yeah, obviously.
I am morally
Show me-
okay with shooting the person.
You should show me a state where if a guy steps on your property, you can just shoot him and kill. You can just shoot and kill him.
You can't. But if you warn them and they still refuse to leave,
yeah, you have to warn
you
them
can
first.
threaten to use force.
Well, it has
You
to
are
be some
correct.
sort of proportional force. That's
Right, which is why you would call the police. But then if you can't do that and he's still refusing to get off your land, then you can shoot him, yes. I don't know. There would probably, let me put it this way, different jurisdictions, it's going to change. So like in
Yeah,
California,
yeah.
it's probably different, like squatters' rights and all this other shit or whatever.
wait. All right.
But whatever. Put legal argument aside.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that just seems absurd to say that I can just like murder all these people, you know?
Would it be considered murder?
Okay.
Or not murder. I can just like kill all these people.
Okay.
I think property rights are important, but I don't know if they're like that important.
I just don't know why people should be allowed to just relax on my land. Like, fuck them. It's my land.
Yeah, but again, like I don't know.
I mean, like Me personally, I probably wouldn't kill them. I'd probably try and figure some shit out.
I just don't
but,
know
like,
what else do you
ultimately,
do if they refuse
yeah.
to leave and threats
Yeah,
of
it's
force
like
aren't working?
ultimately-
You literally have no choice. They
Yeah,
have
I mean,
given you no choice.
Like, I think it would be reasonable to say like this person should wait. Like you should wait the 9 months,
No.
or you should wait the 6 months or 3 months or whatever. I think that's fairly intuitive, and like most people would agree with that.
Someone should be allowed to live on your land for 9 months because they said they'll leave in 9 months.
Like no, like if you know they'll leave in 9 months, yeah. Like I
Right.
think that's
They're gonna take
pretty
your
intuitive.
resources too. That's
Like
okay.
the only way
It can also kill you in your sleep.
to kill you.
Well, or if we
What-
just keep it analogous, to
Yeah.
just a fetus, where we just know it's gonna take food and like make you uncomfortable for 9 months, and
Watches you
they're
sleep.
just like, and you've told them that you want them to get out, and they still haven't. Fuck them. Kill them.
Well, I mean, I still think there's some causal relationship. I think that's where the obligation arises. I don't think that, harm is the only way an obligation can arise. I mean, like most like ethical systems, you can have an obligation without causing any harm.
Well, is an obligation also a preventative of harm?
Or like further harm,
I don't-
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't thought about
like
that.
under like deontology and utilitarianism, like you can an obligation can arise even from doing nothing. Like if you see like a 2-year-old drowning and it won't cause any harm to you to save this kid, then yeah, you, like under most systems you'd have an obligation to like save this 2-year-old.
Yeah, that would be like a social
I
obligation,
think
right?
no, like a moral and legal
No,
obligation.
it would be a moral obligation.
Moral, yeah.
And I think that's like really intuitive to say.
I would agree. That is intuitive. I think we're at a crossroads.
But yeah, Chrome, wait, what's your position?
So as because we've like talked a few times in Aurora debates and stuff,
Yeah.
I'm not particularly good at like formal arguments, and I have a premise, but I was like, I probably need to update this premise.
Yeah, that's fine. So
Uh,
you just like run the argument again?
Let's see. Again, I can try running this premise, but I'm not 100% sure if it goes with what I I'll just say it. Let's see. Premise: a fetus is only worth, or it's my stance is basically that there's no harm to aborting a fetus pre-23 weeks on the grounds that it is incapable of experiencing any sort of physical, mental, or emotional suffering or distress. Therefore, it is not immoral, basically. It could be amoral. Could be morally good for the sake of the pregnant individual.
Okay, and what's harm?
Let's see. Let me pull that up. So I have so where's my pretty sure I have just a let's see. I have like types of harm. Before I just had it as like perceived suffering.
Yeah.
Which is obviously different from your definition.
Is
So
this still your definition?
now instead of just having like harm as a separate thing, I have like 3 types of harm, which would be suffering, damage, and violation.
Why?
It's because people will start asking the like the coma questions and stuff. It's like, well, they're not. Before I was like, well, they technically weren't harmed; they were damaged and violated.
Well, I think you can have.
Yeah,
like, you
so
can still
so
be harmed.
so I could say harm is suffering, damage, or violation of a sentient
Yeah.
being.
What are damage, whatever, and violation?
Suffering is perceived mental, physical, or emotional trauma. Basically, what I had before as my definition. Damage is structural degradation without awareness or consent. And violation is intentional override of agency or boundaries with or without awareness.
Okay, so a fetus prior to sentience is still gonna be harmed then, right?
No. So I have I do have. It's not. That's why this is getting kind of weird because I've been working on it a little bit. I do have another thing called a disturbance, which is which in general, I would say, is an alteration to a never sentient structure, i.e., you could break a stick or break a branch off a tree. And that would just probably be a disturbance because I don't, as far as I know, trees aren't sentient.
Okay.
At least I hope they're not.
Okay, and so is sentience necessary for moral consideration?
Excuse me, sorry.
Is sentience necessary?
Let's see. Is it?
Sufficient.
Yeah. So I would say it's sufficient.
Okay, why?
So my premise is basically upon harm reduction, and ideally, I don't really want to harm other people. I think that's pretty reasonable.
Okay.
If you're asking for like a normative justification, I'm not sure if I could really provide you that because I'm mostly, as I said, I'm not really like a formal person with that. Like I just use my the research I have. Well, the research I have, and then like, you know, obviously based on my own intuitions and stuff like that, that I think this is a good. I mean, obviously for pro-life people, this stance is still wild. But it's like this was like the earliest I could go that it still seemed reasonable enough, which makes the whole thing difficult. The main reason I have this stance is to try and talk with like pro-life individuals. It's like, okay, well, you know, this is as far as I can go, but obviously it's not. They still don't like it.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
Okay, so
it's an attempt, if anything.
so is it fine to like
Actually,
fetus sentience?
so you said grape a fetus prior to sentience?
Yeah.
I think it'd be gross, but there would be no in a vacuum there would be no like moral consequence. So technically it would be fine, but based upon like social Squid, can you help me out with like some words here? But based on like what was that example you used with like the hospitals and stuff like that?
The hospitals
It was like
for social contract, or what do you mean?
well, it's like, you know, we don't you know, like molest.
Oh, we don't let people. Are you
Coma.
talking about the coma ladies?
Yeah,
I was
basically.
yelling at the religious guy. How we
Yeah.
don't let people have sex with women in comas, even if it like would
Yeah,
give them
so-
pleasure, because like we as a society value not having or like having people trust our doctors and stuff like that. Is that
So
what
you
you're asking?
mean,
Yeah,
like-
so I
like
could
real-
argue it would be I could argue it would be immoral, but I don't think there would be any harm.
Like based on rule utilitarianism?
Specifically pre 23 weeks, kind of, yeah. After when they actually gain sentience, then my considerations are going to change for them. And you know, so at that point I would like say, oh, okay, well, maybe I see this person as a, you know, a person and not just a living body that has nothing in it. So therefore it wouldn't simply be a basis of utilitarianism.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry if I'm not explaining it very well at the moment. As I said, I'm changing some stuff up here and there.
They're good, you're good.
Yeah,
You should read on intuitionism. I think that would benefit you.
it might.
But yeah, it was nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming up.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks, man.
it.
I appreciate you.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, have a good
Take it easy.
Too.
Well, that was nice.
That was a very cordial conversation.
Yeah, Placid's he's a debater for sure.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Very chill.
Mhm.
I'm
I wanted to
glad
ask him
that
if he
for
could
me-
name.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say for me, it's usually a good debate if two people just go like, we just fundamentally disagree,
Agree.
and then you're like, yes, and then
Yep.
you leave.
Yeah,
That's
you're
like-
like, huh, okay, yeah.
That means two people are just like, all right, fair enough, and then you're like done. And I
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate those. Yes, hi. Hi. Or do you want to keep watching Jordan Peterson?
Well, until we
Unfortunately, maybe.
Unfortunately, maybe. I mean, until we potentially get another person in, who knows? Who knows?
I'm glad I've red pilled you on Christian nationalism, or black pilled
Oh,
you. I guess. I don't
I
know.
mean, well, it was like I always knew
It's
it
mostly
was
the video you
bad.
watch. I know, but I'm still gonna take.
Well,
credit.
no. Well, I watched that video because of what you've told me.
Oh, okay.
And
So-
I was like, you know what, this is kind of coincidental. You know, I'm gonna take a look into this. Like
Yeah.
it came out literally like the day after, like we were
Yeah.
when you gave me the notes and shit.
It's no good. I'm not a fan.
It's real bad. It's
Oh,
real
coffee. While I'm thinking about it, send me a link to your D&D Beyond character page, not the PDF, the character page.
The character sheet itself.
Yeah, like on the
So-
on the website, it'll like show you all the stuff if you just look at like
Yeah.
character sheet.
There'll be
Yeah.
like a thing on the right, and it'll say you can link the character sheet.
Yeah, I just don't need the PDF. I need the actual like link that's just in the bar because then I can import that information.
All right, bet. Let me figure that bitch out.
Well, then we still might have to go over Coffee's spells and shit because I don't think he's finished that.
That's fine. I just
Yeah.
if we have to do it, I just want to make sure that it like works. Because the other thing is, if I have the link, I can just reuse it and it'll
Yeah.
change.
And it'll
everything.
update. Yeah.
Yeah, I downloaded a new like information importer that's way easier because you
Right,
literally
sick.
just copy and paste the website link.
So I need
character
to
works fine now.
copy and paste what? The
Just
link?
the website link.
Oh yeah, you bet. Dee doo doo da da da.
Ugh. Oh yeah.
I also wanted to ask him if he had an example of a time where we are obligated to use our body for someone else.
Well, he
But-
was. The implication was clearly like when we caused. That was just my main thing. Is I was just like, I feel like you've given me examples where like I've caused harm to somebody, and that has arisen an obligation. But I just don't. I don't know why I have that with a fetus. That was like.
Couldn't that be vice versa? Like if the baby is causing harm to the woman,
Yeah.
then you're
So
obligated.
yeah. So I was thinking about chiming in on that. I don't think the pool analogy really works because like in the pool analogy, the person who pushes the friend into the pool or whoever into the pool would be the pregnant individual because technically
Yeah,
speaking,
the person.
so which
exactly.
doesn't make sense as as being analogous.
I mean,
I thought he was going there because he did post that that hypothetical in AD earlier.
Yeah, I mean it's like fine, but like
Yeah.
I just think it's a pretty good analogy. That's why I had to keep pausing and be like, let me think about what he's saying right now.
Well, it's also 9 months versus
Yeah,
like
but-
a couple minutes.
Yeah. Well, even
Yeah.
in that was why I was just like, I
That
was like, I'm not even
that's
gonna.
that was more analogous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was why I was like, look, I'm not even gonna bother to like give you an exact time. That's like I just have to appeal to intuition.
Yeah, it's
because
like
it's
we'd
otherwise.
it would depend on probably a lot of things. Let's see.
Oh, you got to set your character to public, and then it'll work.
This fucking
What? How do
yeah, the pool thing doesn't actually really work so much against my stance because like pre 23 weeks, if
No.
you threw a fetus in the pool, I'd be like, yeah, let it.
Yeah, no, for your shit, it all works fine. It was all like, I mean, it was good. Like, when he started asking me those questions, I was like, let me think, give me some thought. And then once I finally came up with like, oh, well, you're giving me instances of like there's harm. I feel like we can draw a distinction between like causing harm, and then just like, or like doing something that causes harm versus just like getting pregnant. That seems like two different things that have occurred.
All right, try that one.
Another character link.
I did public.
Oh yeah, I might be talking to my after the stream. I might be talking with my other friend and helping him set up a character.
No
Oh, that'd be cool.
cobalt token? What the fuck? The hell's a cobalt token? Well, apparently you're missing something. We'll fix this later.
Yeah. I can help you with a coffee when you have time.
All right, bet.
All right. Well, anyone who is currently watching, feel free to hop into the Discord. The link is in the stream titles. Just join that. You'll be put into a waiting room where we can actually snatch you up and take you into our channel, and we can talk about stuff. So,
The debate arena.
the debate arena.
Alright,
And you have to
let's
be
go.
18 and up. I forgot to ask Placid, but I'm pretty sure Placid's 18 up. Anyway.
Argument.
But there's happy nihilists.
Oh, there are.
How do you
they?
explain that there are happy nihilists then?
Existentialism.
Well,
just said they
the
can't
mere
be.
fact that you state that
Technically,
there
they're
are
not
happy nihilists
but yes, I understand.
Yeah.
doesn't make it true. Like, what's your evidence that? How do you measure nihilism, and how have you associated it with happiness? And what's your definition of
Right, but
happiness?
then-
Have you compared them?
What's up?
See, he's doing the classic. He's doing his thing where he's asking for like hyper specifics,
Yeah.
but he's just gonna give super big generalities, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, what do you like? Really, are we gonna be like this? Just go to a punk show and watch some nihilist dance. Like, holy shit,
yeah.
this is not like complicated.
Hell yeah. I mean, that
And
sounds
he's
fun.
like, well, did you measure their happiness? Did you know how to quantify it? And it's like, okay, look, dickhead, like they're dancing. They're clearly happy, right?
They seem to be
now.
having a good time.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ.
To religious people, because if you do, by the way, it's clearly the case that religious people over the long run have better mental health. It's a well-documented fact in psychological literature.
Sure.
So your
Yeah.
your claim is just a
know,
claim. It doesn't stand on
For some
it.
reason, it's only Islam, but like primarily Muslim countries have incredibly low suicide rates, and even when you like take into account all the other factors, they're like, no, it's Islam. Like Islam stops people from killing themselves, and we don't know why.
I think
There
they,
is honor killing though.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but we're just talking about suicide.
I
I'm
think
not saying
I-
Islam's good.
Yeah, it's not. But I think Islam has. I don't know the specifics, but I think Islam has like more moral obligations pressed upon them in Islam.
Maybe.
I
I think you're just.
so-
I think it's just taking like swings at. Not like
I
some
don't
people.
know.
The most common one I hear is they want to be like, the Muslim community is super duper into like being a community. Basically,
Yeah.
they're like super connected to everybody
yeah, so
compared to even like Christian communities.
well, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but even that's like maybe. 'cause
yeah.
It feels like there's probably like the Jewish community is really tight knit, and they don't have the benefit of
Yeah.
like not killing themselves. So
I
like.
I think it's okay. Other people do it for them. The thing, well, and the Jewish community is also like super small. So
with that-
it's also kind of probably one of those things. It's like, well, they're also Jewish, and like there aren't many of us, so
Maybe.
at least in some areas, like here, there's I think a somewhat tight knit Jewish community where I live, but.
Maybe.
But if it's like in New York, no, there's tons of Jews,
Everywhere. Isn't that right, kid?
and this only applies to like practicing Jews, not like
I
me,
guess
the
that-
heretical Jew or the
It would be
blasphemer.
interesting to see like population density of like a certain religious group in an area, and then like the suicide rate of that religious population.
That would
Like,
be
and then
interesting.
compare it to other places of like lower and higher density. That would be interesting.
Yeah, there's especially in like Islamic countries, there's probably like a higher rate of like indoctrination.
But why would that stop you from killing yourself?
Well, because at some point,
let me make it clear, this isn't.
yeah.
This wasn't just like Islamic countries. I'm pretty
Yeah.
confident it's just like across all Muslim communities, like full stop.
I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, there's just something in Islam, bro. It keeps you
There's
from
just
killing
something
yourself.
in Islam.
I had one guy who was a Muslim. He's like, yeah, it's 'cause it's immoral for us to kill ourselves according to our book. I'm like, same with the Bible. What are you
Yeah,
talking
it's
about?"
same with Christians and
Get outta here.
Jews. Like you can't just give yourself a free pass to heaven. But as I've said multiple times, apparently if you abort children, they just go to heaven.
Based.
So
Like abortion factories.
yeah. We don't produce anything. We
Yeah,
only
but
take
we
away.
send so many kids to heaven.
We send so
That's
many.
like the best
kids to
thing I
heaven.
can do, right? Is I just
Yeah,
send kids to heaven.
exactly. Yeah. I was watching a video. I don't remember who said it, but it was like so they got christened at at a church, and it was like at that point you're like devolved of sin. And he's like, yeah, why didn't the priest just kill me right then and there? I would have just had a free trip to heaven.
True, and then that would be the ultimate. That's like an ultimate sacrifice thing. God would
Yeah,
have to
exactly,
respect it. If
exactly.
he doesn't, he's like a faker.
Yeah, but I guess it's not in the Bible that you can just kill kill someone for that.
Lame. The Bible
So-
sucks.
Bible.
Unless they own your land.
Oh man. Well, that's why we have you here, Coffee. You know this shit.
Yeah, you know all the laws.
You disagree with the claim that there exists even one happy nihilist?
I
You would
didn't say that.
Okay, would you agree there exists at least one happy nihilist in the universe?
It's not a question that has any meaning as far as I'm concerned, because it
Okay.
depends on what you mean by happy, and it depends on the
He's obfuscating. I think that's the right word,
Yeah,
right?
I
That's
mean
what
it's
everyone
fine. You
says.
can say I reject the question if it's a bad
Sure.
question, but the answer is obviously yes. That's why he has to do this.
Yeah.
duration that you're trying to calculate over. Now and then
Parker's
there's
just like, what?
probably some deluded soul who thinks he's a nihilist who's momentarily pleased
thinks
with
he's a-
himself. But as a long-term strategy to deal with the future, to get along with yourself and with others, it's sadly lacking. That's why Nietzsche warned that when God died, as he announced in 1850,
Nietzsche!
that people would be flooded
God.
with pointless, anxiety-ridden, hopeless nihilism. And that was what would attract them for example, to the false gods of totalitarianism, which is exactly what happened. Because everybody worships something, even atheists who think they don't.
Aren't there unhappy Christians or
course
devoted
there are.
believers?
Yeah, it's just this is all in his specific purview of what worshipping means, and like even his definition doesn't even have anything spiritual in it. But now he's like, just in what he said right there, he's like adding spiritualism to it. In a sense, it's weird. I don't like it.
So worshiping something is neither sufficient nor necessary for happiness then?
Well, terrible things can come your way regardless, and that does
Okay.
happen. But it's the case that even when circumstances become deeply troublesome, that how you're oriented makes a big difference. So I'll give you an example. So the book of Job deals with the issue of unfair suffering. So Job is a good man who has everything taken away from him in the most painful possible way.
To settle a bet, right?
With Satan,
Yes.
yes. And so he makes the axiomatic presumption that he won't lose faith in himself or in the spirit of being itself. And that helps him remain calm and forward-looking through his time of trial.
Doesn't he absolutely curse God?
No, his wife tells him to do that.
Yeah, Job knows God did all that, right?
Yeah, God lets him know.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's
don't worry about it. He keeps telling Job, like, have faith in me, nerd.
Have faith in me.
Does
Have
he give him like a new family too?
Yeah, he's just like, don't worry,
Well,
Job.
didn't he,
I
like,
got you.
revive
I got
it?
replacements for all of it.
Did he revive
he's-
them or give them totally new one?
I think it's a new one.
Oh, that's actually really
Yeah.
fucked up. What? That's almost that's kind of worse in a way to me.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm
here,
gonna
be
reimburse
satisfied
you with
this.
a new family.
It's like, what
Yeah.
about the ones I love?
No, sorry, they're dead, but I'm gonna give you a
They're,
replacement.
they're in heaven now, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so fucked up.
God's like, it's okay to cheat on your wife if
So-
she's dead.
I mean,
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah, good. My final claim is that atheists accept Christian morality, but deny the religion's foundational stories.
I mean, we're allowed to.
What does that even? Whoa.
Yeah.
Atheists accept but deny its foundational stories. What the fuck does that even mean?
It's like, oh yeah, we agree with these morals, but I think he's saying you have to accept where they came from originally. It's like, no, these morals just seem to work out well for human society. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
also, Christianity doesn't. He's wrong, but
Yeah. Also, Ian's just. It's Ian's part.
yeah.
Hi there.
It's very nice to meet you.
What's
I'm
your
Ian.
name?
I'm Ian.
Hi, Ian.
Yes. So God says that you can own people as property. He says that you can beat them with a rod too. He commands genocide in Deuteronomy, in Numbers, and in Samuel. I mean, they have a goddamn baby barbecue in Numbers. Like, is all of this in line with Christian ethics?
No.
Just stare.
So then God doesn't fit within Christian ethics.
Well, the biblical library is a continuing story, and everything written in it has to be contextualized by the entire text. There's 65,000 hyperlinks in the biblical text. And you can take pieces of it out of context and criticize them, and that's what you're doing. But that's a mistake, I think. It's a...
Yes, the genocide of the Amalekites was definitely taken out of context.
analytic mistake because you're putting the
I don't
cart
know, how you
before the
take
horse.
genocide
I really
out
don't-
of context. I'm not
Exactly.
really- outside of
So,
like, justifying it.
so the justification in the Bible is that they were all just evil people. It was an evil society, but it says to even kill their like babies and pregnant women, and
They were bad babies.
yeah, they were just bad babies.
It has to
And
do
their
with
livestock.
what their ancestors did like centuries earlier. And what's
Mm.
even worse is that God actually punishes Saul, the guy
Mm-hmm.
who fucking exterminates the Amalekites, because he didn't kill enough people.
That I didn't know.
Yep. Because he
Dang.
spares the king and some of the animals. And so God was like,
Mm.
yo, dude, you didn't follow my
killed y'all.
direction. Fuck you.
Like, why do I need to kill all these animals? Even like, it's so stupid.
That's fucking wild, dude.
Yeah, donkey specifically was one of them. Getting donkeys.
I don't think so.
God
I
damn
think
it.
that
No,
if
you
we say
Huh?
I was just saying, goddamn donkeys.
Them damn donkeys. They ain't making waffles for anyone.
Yeah.
Fucking Shrek.
that something is Christian ethics, then I think that all of the books essential to Christianity would fit with it, especially if it's like the main character. When we're talking
How
about
do you deal with
God,
the morality of war?
So-
how do you think you should deal with the
Sure,
morality
sure,
of
sure,
war?
sure. Because I feel like the morality, like I feel like Christian ethics, like this is kind of, I guess I just think it's like kind of an absurdity to say that God doesn't fit within Christian ethics. But sure, well, we can go on my ethics. That's totally fine.
I don't know what you mean by an absurdity. What game are you playing with
Well,
that
I just think
question?
that it's an absurdity to say that the Christian God doesn't fit within Christian ethics. That like the Christian
I
God
didn't
isn't
say
like
that.
Christian
I
ethical.
said that the specific statements that you made don't take the context of the stories into account, and so that your analytical approach is
Why
faulty.
is he getting
Sure.
so, so angry?
It's yeah, no, and Ian kind of falls back a little bit, I think, because of how Peterson is acting, but then Ian comes back pretty hard.
Put words in my
Okay,
mouth.
Sure, then let's go through
Thank
the
you.
example. Yeah, so, and I apologize. So let's go through the example. So in 1 Samuel 15:3, God says, go and slaughter the Amalekites, slaughter the men, the women, the
Yeah.
children, the infants. What's the justification for that? Is that in line
That's a
with
good
Christian
question.
ethics?
That's a good question. I don't really know what to do with the terrible, blood-soaked, saturated history of the human past. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows.
He just says, "I don't
what
know."
you try to do
He
in your
just
own
says,
life,
"I don't
as
know."
far as I can tell, is to
Oh,
Fair enough.
I just noticed you're wearing a nice jacket. Nice jacket.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
conduct yourself in a manner that makes such things much more unlikely.
I totally agree.
We're all saddled with the problem of the catastrophes that got us here, aren't we?
Yeah, but
And-
this
and-
one was commanded by God. That's the problem.
Yeah,
That's
well-
what differentiates it from anything else is that this one, it's God
Do you
saying,
think that
go
there's
and
ever
do this
such a thing?
atrocity.
Do you think that there's ever such a thing as a righteous war?
I'm skeptical. I'm not sure. It would probably be situational.
Well, right, fair
Yeah,
enough.
but
I
this
mean,
one
people,
certainly wasn't a just war. The context for the Amalekite slaughter is that 400 years earlier, they fought one battle, which they lost, and God says, that's it, I'm gonna wipe them off the face of the goddamn earth. And then 400 years later, he commands the Israelites to genocide their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren. That's not a just war at all. And also, a genocide is not a war.
well, a genocide can be a war, but
Absolutely not.
Nope.
The genociding of the Amalekites, the men, the women, and the infants, that's not a war. The infants aren't combatants.
look, I already said that it's very difficult to look at the blood-soaked past and to know exactly what to do about it.
Then
The
concede.
answer I gave
So
to
I
the
don't-
gentleman who was
I
sitting
don't
here
understand.
before you.
Are we considering this to be a historical? Like, what does that even mean? Like, look at the blood-soaked past. Are we like
I don't.
just saying that war that like is he trying to frame it like this is a war that happened? Bummer. Like, I don't understand.
That's what it seems like, but it was like a thing where in the Old Testament it said God told these people to
Yeah.
massacre this whole ethnic
Yeah.
group. So
Which it's a big problem.
it's yeah.
You is that it's necessary to read a text like the Bible at all of its levels of analysis simultaneously. And there's a directional morality that
doing it
emerges
again.
across
The
time that
generality.
has its roots in the Old Testament, for example, with its restrictions against murder specifically, that makes itself manifest in the Christian texts as the insistence on voluntary self-sacrifice as the foundational belief. That's a profoundly anti-violence ethos.
Do you have the belief in your theology?
Well, what do you think of that? Wait a sec. Now redress
So,
what I-
yeah,
So basically now Jordan Peterson, correct me if I'm wrong, Coffee. He's basically saying, "Oh well, the New Testament is anti-violence," which I think technically
one
it
could
is. But...
argue. Jesus said a weird thing. I honestly can't remember. Something about a sword. I've like brought.
Yeah.
I forget them.
From what I understand, the first 300 years of Christianity were actually quite non-violent, allegedly, but they were also a much smaller group at that time.
Yeah, they just weren't able to.
There was
violent.
like the, I mean, a lot of Europe when they turned Christian were really violent.
I believe it.
I mean, obviously the Crusades.
Yeah.
When
they got big, the Spanish.
Yeah,
Inquisition,
I mean the Spanish kicked out Jews. So did England. Just a bunch of different European countries just was like, yeah, fuck you guys.
Yep.
You guys are either gonna, you guys either leave, convert, or die. Those are your three options.
And it just seems like very stupid to be like, oh yeah, New Testament anti-violence, when you just have like the classic Jesus flips the table and whips some people.
That's also true, yeah.
And then Jesus is also like, yeah, you can.
It was the morally good kind of whipping.
Okay, and then here's the quote. I think I came not to send peace, but a sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's usually like an like a very, very specific interpretation somebody will use for that. And I get it. But if Jesus
That's why we have
God,
these problems.
he would be a perfect communicator. At least I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and one's foes will be members of one's own household.
Sounds like a cult.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, actually, unironically, yeah, that's what cults do. They
seriously, it's like
from your own family. Nice, sick.
Nice, sick.
Yeah. So I'm about to address it, but I'm addressing it with a question. Do you think that God is, by his very essence, perfect?
You'll have to provide more.
Sure, just like maximally great in all like the great making qualities.
Sure.
The great making qualities.
Yeah. So, so does a flawless thing
wait a
change?
sec.
Does a flawless thing reveal like more and better information over time, or would a flawless thing say, here's what's good, here is the absolute good thing to do at all circumstances in time?
Well, we know some of that.
Wait,
Tell
so
the truth. That's one.
That's totally fine, but presumably...
No. You don't get to skate over that. That's totally fine.
It's a straw man of my position. It's a straw man of the argument. So
In what
the
way?
argument is that God...
Wait a sec. You said find one maxim that's transcendent.
it is kind of funny that despite how much Jordan Peterson talks, Ian comes up and he's just like, I need you to take a break. Like, hold on 1 second.
Transcendent across situations.
I didn't say any of those words. I'm not sure what conversation you're a part of.
Don't be a smartass.
I'm sorry.
Seriously, I mean it. If we're going to have a serious conversation, conduct yourself properly.
Yeah, I didn't like.
I mean it.
Don't
be a little sassy boy.
A little sassy. Yeah, I don't like how Jordan Peterson kind of like tone polices. Like
his feefies get hurt.
A little bit. He's just a little upset.
A little bit of a bitch.
Yeah, that is an appropriate word.
Okay.
He clearly just doesn't like argue with
Rephrase-
anybody. Otherwise, he wouldn't feel the need to do this. Like in arguments,
question?
people just say stuff. I'm like, what of a...
Yeah.
So that because I must have missed it, I tried to answer it.
So in my mind, I guess by my lights, a perfect being doesn't change. A perfect being, if they're maximally good, maximally moral...
Does our understanding of the perfect being change?
Our understanding might, but presumably what the perfect being is revealing...
Well, I agree. How do we distinguish between that, though, at the human level?
How do we distinguish between whether...
Between our transforming understanding of perfection and perfection itself.
Between our...
We can only... Yeah, well, we can only see through our own lenses.
Presumably a perfect being would
like,
be revealing all of these aspects all the time, especially if God's
Letty.
outside of time. I don't know how a God who's outside of time
does
is revealing different things at different times. That just seems like incoherent to me.
Imagine something that's perfect.
Sure.
And complete.
Sure.
Okay, and it's trying to communicate with creatures who are anything but that.
Sure.
Well, they're going to get it wrong.
Sure.
Okay,
but
now
what
wait a sec. Do you blame that on the interpreters or the phenomena itself?
So in
Like,
this
for
case-
example, are you
well, yeah, I
perfect in
blame this-
attending to your
No, you
conscience?
blame it on the
At the
phenomenon.
point in time
It's
when God
perfect.
is literally the one who
The
created us, he could have
person
created
should
us
be
in a
able to
way where
perfectly
we would
communicate
always
the
be
ideas. What
receptive.
the fuck?
The
So
phenomena
yeah, it's
itself.
obviously God's fault.
Yeah, it's like it's all God's fault.
So in
Like,
this
for
case-
example, are you
well, yeah, I
perfect in
blame this-
attending to your conscience?
Hold on. At the point in time when God is literally the one who created us, he could have created us in a way where we would always be receptive to these principles, where we don't have to go across like a learning curve where, maybe we'll understand
maintain
like
free will.
thousands of years in the future, maybe we'll do it. Oh, also, if you believe in an all-knowing God, then free will is impossible because
Wait
if
a
it-
sec. Wait, let's
well,
not go
wait,
to that
because
yet.
you threw free will into the mix.
Well, that was the answer to your question.
Yeah, and
you
I'm
said,
saying
why
that's
wouldn't God?
incoherent.
Well,
God,
it's
fucking
1,000
Lego head.
years of deep thinking philosophers would disagree with you, but
Yeah,
have
and
it your
a
way.
1,000
Oh
years
my
of,
god,
or
that's
at
like
least
the
like
most
last 50
obscure
years of
authority I've ever
philosophers.
heard in my life. I'm gonna
Right.
kill myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my copy of Thomas Aquinas's collected writings and beat Jordan Peterson to
Yes.
death with it. Jesus
How does this
Christ.
make you feel? Are you listening yet? How many times do I have to tell you this, old man?
Yeah. God.
God, well,
It's
1,000
contradictory.
years of deep thinking philosophers would disagree with you, but
Yeah,
have
and
it your way.
1,000 years of, or at least like the last 50 years of philosophers would disagree with you. These analytic philosophers, people like Graham Oppie make arguments about the incompatibility of omniscience and free will, that if God created this world, if he chose this world instead of that world, then he makes it causally inevitable every single action that you were going to make. If he made a world where we were just electrons in love, then none of this would have happened. But by making us in this world, knowing exactly what's going to happen in the future, it makes all of those events inevitable, which means that they're all causally determined, which means that we have no free will if you believe in an all-good God or an all-knowing God that made everything.
Well, have it your
Got
way.
him.
Okay, cool.
I
So
don't-
then the
I
free will
don't-
of theodicy.
Got him, boys.
Well, it fails for you. That doesn't mean you've disproved it. I mean, you try.
I like how he's like, it fails for you. It's like, yeah, it fails on any principle outside of
Yeah.
your religion. Like,
Your shit don't
Trying to
make
make-
no sense, bro.
yeah,
Your shit's screwy.
It only makes sense with it in its own self-contained ethos.
Argument?
Yeah.
Yes, you tried to make a case for a
Yeah, he'd have to be like,
causally deterministic.
if you steel man Jordan Peterson, you'd say he's like a compatibilist, where it's like we have free will, but it's in like a range, and so God's all knowing. Well, no, if he knows, he would have to know like what you're gonna choose.
Yeah,
I guess you're
exactly.
fucked. I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's no way an omniscient God would allow
Yeah.
we wouldn't have free will under an omniscient God.
I'm surprised he hasn't just taken the L on like the all good, all knowing, all powerful thing. Why not just get rid of the all knowing and all powerful and just make them all good, and then you're like done.
Well, then it defeats the Bible.
I know, but then
But yeah.
but at least you're still a Christian,
can-
okay?
you can-
Like, at the end of that one.
You could reasonably have like two of the. I mean, not reasonably
No, you
because they're
can't.
infinite, but like
It's either he's all powerful, which includes all knowing anyway. So I guess you can have all good and all knowing, but he's not all powerful. I guess
yeah,
that works. Yeah.
he could be all powerful and all knowing, and just
Well, if
not
he's
all
powerful,
good.
he's like, yeah. Which
Yeah.
is whoops, that's fucked, bro. That's not
And
good.
if
We
he's-
don't like that.
Or he doesn't exist.
Or he
he
just
doesn't
isn't.
exist.
Yeah.
universe. I don't think there's any evidence for that at all.
Do you think that God could have created a different universe than the one that he created?
I have no idea.
Okay, so then there's going
Yeah.
to be a double bind, right? So either he couldn't have done it, in which case he lacks a power, or he could have done it, in which case we don't have free will, because he chose this world instead of that world, making the events of this world instead of that world inevitable with
Okay.
his infallible knowledge.
I don't understand where you're headed.
It just means that the free will defense fails. Like all this, like under
Like
your
I said,
view,
if
under
you want
your
to have
view,
it
free
fail,
will.
no problem. I don't know why it's relevant to the issue we're
Do you
discussing.
acknowledge that under your view, free will doesn't exist?
No.
Oh, then do you want to respond to the argument?
You'll have to phrase it more
Sure,
clearly
okay.
so that someone
So-
like me can understand
Yeah,
it.
yeah, gotcha. So,
Yeah.
so God already knows.
Jordan Peterson literally just did the like, I'm a pretty smart fucking guy. Okay, you're saying dumb words. Say smarter fucking words.
No, I think I think Ian was just going too quick for him or something. I don't think.
I don't even think it was that. I
I don't-
literally just think Jordan Peterson was like, "What the fuck is this kid talking about? What? Two
knows in
universes?"
advance everything
What?
that's going to happen, which means that by making this world instead of that world, everything is inevitable, which means that God's act of causing this world instead of that
Inevitable
world,
doesn't mean determined.
it's causally inevitable if God chooses this world instead of that world.
Doesn't make it
causally,
determined.
Causally inevitable means determined.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes, it does.
Well, have it your
It's not just have it your way. Like, what else does it mean?
BK.
Squid, do you have? Does that mean it? I would assume one implies the other pretty explicitly, or implicitly.
Yeah, I don't. He's just.
It's
he's
Jordan
just dumb.
Peterson.
Yeah, I don't know what Ian would do. I mean, if Jordan Peterson's talking about psychology shit, that's fine, bro. He's got a PhD. He's like super excited.
He's a clinical psychologist.
Yeah, he like does cognitive behavioral therapy as like primarily, which
Is he a
means
counselor?
does like, or not anymore. he was.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean,
Which
you can be.
to
You could probably
cognitive
be a good one.
behavioral therapy
Is good.
is the best therapy. It's the most quantifiable therapy that you can like possibly do. So thumbs up, because that was what his like specialty was. So
That's what my
as
therapist
like-
focuses in as well.
yeah, as far as like psychology is concerned, he's got his bona fides. The problem is
Yeah,
he's talking
yeah.
about shit he has like absolutely no concept about whatsoever. And he like doesn't. I don't think he like reads philosophy or like understand, or he like definitely doesn't discuss it with people who don't already like agree with God existing.
Yeah.
And so then he steps outside of that. It's just like a total waste of everyone's
I
time.
was watching. It was Alex O'Connor was talking with Destiny, and and they were talking about, or Alex was talking about his debate with Jordan Peterson, and oh shit, wait, what were we just saying? I don't know why I just lost it mid thought.
I mean, I know in
Or
that
just
interview he brings up how he was trying to pin down with Alex was
Oh,
trying to pin down
yeah.
Jordan Peterson whether or not Jesus rose, like
Yeah.
actually rose from
Yeah.
the grave. And he's like, if I set up a camcorder in front of the the
With
cave,
with the little LCD screen.
the LCD
See
screen, would I
Jesus.
see Jesus come out of the cave? And he was like, I would think yes.
Yes. Yeah, so I was just watching that earlier today, and it was funny because one of Jordan Peterson's allegedly close friends, I don't remember the name, had never gotten him to ever admit that. Now, when his closest friend is also a Christian, but what
Yeah.
he said, he told Alex when he said that was the first time ever that like anyone got him to that point, and his friend was like, I think he believes the historicity of that moment more than I do.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's not. He's
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson, I think, hides his Christian power levels.
Yeah.
And he like doesn't let us know how Christian he is.
Exactly.
In reality, he is like mega Christian. He's also like a weird Jungian mega Christian, where he is like, God is the pursuit of like the highest good, and everyone needs to pursue the highest good, but then everyone has their own individual highest good. But then what's like the universal consciousness version of the individual highest good? That's gonna be God. Some like weird shit like that.
Just
But then I can put all those words together, and a bunch of people give me money, and I'll be like, "Fuck yeah, bro! I'm the new Jordan Peterson."
this was when it was just me and Coffee. We were watching this, and one guy came up, Greg, and he basically just told Jordan Peterson, he's like, and you just escape back into your what was it, like, semantic fog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does do that.
It's
He
like,
loves
it's-
doing that.
Yeah, I was like, that's a good way to put it.
your way.
Okay.
That's not the case.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
I like to never be on Jubilee.
Jordan,
'cause I
nice to
just
meet
wouldn't
you.
swing
Very
for the
zippy.
chair. I'm like, that's too much work. I'm not doing that, bro. I'm gonna
Especially if
saunter
you're-
on up.
Especially if you're wearing a suit.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like casually walk up, and if they let me get the chair, they let me get the chair.
Mm-hmm.
I know I can win, so just let me get there, boys.
Bring a spray bottle, so as you walk up,
yeah,
you just
everyone
spray
get the
everyone.
fuck out of my way.
I'm Liam.
Hi, Liam.
Just
How you doing?
actually-
I'm doing well. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm
good.
surrounded by atheists.
Huh?
Liam has the worst haircut in the whole universe.
It's pretty bad. It's like,
Hey, the Neo mullet is truly upsetting.
is this the Neo mullet? Yeah, I'm not a fan of.
Yes,
Like, you
the
can
new
make
mullet-
you can make a mullet look good. I actually have a friend that has a mullet, and his looks pretty good.
It's this whole new like post-ironic aesthetic where you're
Yeah.
you're like making yourself look trashy on purpose, and then it's like but then it turns into like, oh, but I'm not actually trashy. I'm a nice guy. That's that's the contrast, and I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. This
Red
this
tube
even
is a lot.
bang is fucked. Anyway, yeah.
My question to you, let me scoot in, would be, what does it mean to accept Christian values precisely, or Christian morality?
It
That's a
means
good
to
question.
aim up as hard as you can, no matter what happens to you.
Okay.
Okay.
What?
So
That's so. You need to aim up as hard as you can, no matter what
Yeah.
happens to you.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Do your best
Jesus Christ.
for Jesus.
Literally,
Christ.
bro.
Yeah, literally.
What a horrible answer. What a worthless answer.
It's-
Fucking God.
I think
It's
that,
funny. I have a
I
whole
think that
entire whiteboard dedicated for arguments, and I literally haven't been able to write one down for Jordan Peterson. Literally.
He doesn't have any.
Yeah.
Exactly.
that's a very broad definition of what Christian
Yeah, but it'll
morality
come in
is.
handy at some point in your life.
Right. But I think that many
But
different
it'll come-
disciplines and
Bro, he's like a
theologies.
scary
asked for-
Irish guy at a bar or something. He's like, but it'll come in handy at some point in life. And you're like, what the fuck, bro? You're staring into my soul right now.
Like, sir, please let me just have my pretzel bites.
Yeah, literally.
A truncated answer. Eh? I
Right.
mean, there's other ways of representing the
Yeah.
situation, but I wanted to give you something that was kind of foundational briefly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It doesn't mean it's, exhaustive.
Yeah.
I could say that you would have to believe that Christ is God and he died for your sins, right? But that's in a very difficult way to understand. That's the same claim.
Yeah. If there are other theologies and disciplines
Yeah.
that have similar types of values,
Yeah.
how then is that definition mean? Like, wouldn't those also be Christian values under your definition? of
That's a
Christian?
good question. I spent a lot of time studying different religious systems from all over the world and found multiple interesting layers
All right,
of
name it.
concordance.
Right.
So
Name one that isn't Christianity, Islam, Judaism, or Buddhism. Give me,
Shinto.
like, 3.
Shinto, Norse, and Hellenic. There's also multiple Native American ones.
This
But
is
I
a
don't know.
rhetorical question for Jordan Peterson.
I
You can
know,
come back
I
to
know,
this.
I know.
You can bully me.
Yeah.
Zoroastrianism.
Oh yeah, Zoroastrian.
hell yeah.
I like the name. I just like how that sounds, Zoroastrianism.
It rolls off the tongue real nice. It got a good
Yeah,
mouthfeel.
Zoroastrianism.
It's got a good mouthfeel.
Yeah.
So, for example, in ancient Egypt, their god Horus, who was the reviving god of the totalitarian state, the corrupt he was the god.
Actually, would you ask him, not only like what other religions, but what religions are still practiced today?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd probably be the most important one.
Yeah, because obviously, Hellenic and Norse aren't as popular as they used to be. Though Sephi is a Hellenic follower, a follower of Hellenics.
Hello.
If they're still here.
I think they have left the building.
No.
Yeah.
Right, and
Oh.
the Jews hypothetically came out of Egypt, and there was crosstalk between Egyptian and Jewish foundational morality, and then that bled into Christianity. I mean, human beings all over the world have come up with moral systems that fit roughly into a pattern, and
Yeah.
What's up?
Collective consciousness. Oh, Jesus.
they're very usefully studied. I learned a lot about
hive
Christianity
mind.
by studying Taoism, for example, like a
Right.
lot. So I think you can make a case that Christianity formalized the landscape of good and evil more comprehensively and in more detail than any other religious system. And I think that that's part of the reason that it defeated paganism and spread so broadly across the West and is still dominant, still understructures our culture, for example.
The way you feel about Horus or Taoism.
I think people misunderstand what paganist or paganism means. Paganism just means not Abrahamic. That's literally all it means.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been moved to be like Norse
New
or
Age.
whatever. Yeah, New Age hippie stuff.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's
Or something is how I feel about Christian morals. I think
Yeah, but how do I feel about them?
well that you took inspiration from them, you learned from them. Maybe
That's a good start,
Right.
you know, because I would say that actually constitutes belief. You know, like you said, well, look,
right.
in Noah, in the story of Noah, right? Noah is inspired by the apprehension that all hell is going to break loose. Okay,
Yeah.
he regards that inspiration as God,
Okay.
right? And when God comes to Abraham, he comes to Abraham as the spirit of adventure. It's inspiration. One of the definitions of God in the Old Testament, unsurprisingly, given the derivation of the word, is inspiration. And so if you take inspiration from Christian ideas, then insofar as you do that, you are in fact a believer, which was my point.
You might be a believer in that in and of itself. It doesn't mean you believe in the God. Like,
Yeah.
they're not conflatable.
He's conflating just action with belief. Like if you
Yeah.
act in X way, you believe X thing. Which,
Yeah.
to be fair, usually, like if I'm judging somebody, I can only judge them by the way they act. So this is like, generally speaking, a like reasonable position to hold, to be like, you act X way, you believe X thing. But
Yeah.
the problem is he is like so over broadly defining what like Christian morality counts as, that it's just like encompassing all action that Jordan Peterson likes. And it turns out a lot of people do things Jordan Peterson likes.
Yeah.
So now it's like,
Yeah.
so it makes
I like it
a
when
word-
people compliment others.
yeah.
something,
Oh,
yeah.
you're going towards the highest
That's it.
ideal.
Thanks, Jesus. Now tell me I'm pretty.
With regards to atheists
Correct.
not understanding
But have
what
you
they're
taken
rejecting.
inspiration from Taoism or from studying Egyptian mythology?
Definitely.
So then you believe them under that definition?
Yeah, but I've incorporated them into something I think that's more comprehensive.
Is it possible to take inspiration and to appreciate the teachings without being a believer in their truth claims?
It depends. No, I don't think so. But I think, you see, there are different kinds of truth claims, right? There's propositional truth claims, which are the truth claims of what you say. And then there's embodied truth claims, which is the truth claims of what you do. That should be prioritized. Optimally, what you say and what you do would be brought into harmony. But I would say if you had to prioritize, it should be what you attend to and what you act first. And that's what Christ actually says in the Gospels, because he points to the Pharisees, for example, who
Jesus.
say all the right things, but don't do any of the right things, and points out very clearly that that's...
Going back a little bit, when he was saying he kind of incorporated some of like some of the stuff, you know, he wasn't specific, from like other belief systems, it makes me wonder like that maybe that's why he doesn't claim to be a Christian. But the problem is if he were to ever like admit that it's like I have my own thing about Christianity, and the reason he doesn't say it is because a lot of other Christian, like he might lose his whole Christian base, because they would just massively disagree with him or something.
Yeah, well, he's said he just doesn't like answering the question of whether or not he believes in God or is a Christian or whatever, because he's like, it pigeonholes me into a thing, which
Well,
it does, but it's a good
yeah.
pigeonhole because like that's important information
Yeah.
to make judgment calls on what you're saying.
It's like, yeah,
I would bet, because again, Jungian shit. I read his book once. I once read Maps of Meaning. I should reread it and like take notes. I read it like years ago, so I don't remember shit. But again, I think it's just like now that I've read more Jung, watching these conversations like makes a lot more sense to me, because he's like invoking when he says like, yeah, I've incorporated different religions into my like thought process. That's like I think he's appealing to like the super Jungian notion of like archetypes, and then he's gonna like, again, I think if you really pushed him, my bet would be like God is the ultimate coming together of like all
Everything.
striving, and like that's why Jesus is awesome, because he loves the word, and the word is logic, and logic is what we strive towards. But then it's like, but not really, because it's not how religion works. So then you're still like fucked.
yeah. So he just can't admit it.
Yeah, but it's also just like
guess,
stupid
yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
like, well, if God wants us to pursue logic, it's self-defeating because logic negates God. So like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And everything Young
in
wrote is
marketing.
pseudo-intellectual. Yeah,
Marketing.
no, it's great. But everything Young wrote is pseudo-intellectual nonsense. Even though it's very interesting to read, it's all pseudo crap.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not acceptable.
I don't know that the Christian morality, those principles originate in Christianity, because you brought up other things that predate Christianity that you can very closely tie connections to.
Well, I don't think they do originate precisely. I mean,
Right.
I don't think the Christian claim is exactly that they originate in Christianity.
So if I'm
right? Because-
living those values,
Some Christians will say that.
how is it that I'm living the Christian values and maybe not the Egyptian values or something else?
well,
that you
one
brought
of
up?
one of
Pause there. You've
I
been
mean,
going out-
Christianity
good.
has
That was good.
borrowed quite a bit of shit from other religions.
Every religion is
Exactly. Yeah.
Hi.
Hello there. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
I'm Kumari. So I was curious about this like Christian morality that you're talking about, because a lot of my issues with Christianity have to do with the base morality of it, specifically with like the idea of like the rapture and how we see people that aren't going to come up with us with the rapture, and that concept of heaven and hell. I don't really agree with that morality, but if you could explain that to me and how I do agree with that, I would love to like hear.
Well, I
But
can't
she
explain
wants
the
to.
rapture to
She
you
wants
because
to
that
just
isn't
have a
something-
conversation. Fucking lame. I'm here to watch people. I'm here to watch a bloodbath. Get the fuck off the stage.
thing I concern myself with, and that's more of a
That's true.
sectarian belief than something that's central to Christianity. Now, there's all sorts of evangelical Protestants who might disagree with that, but that doesn't have anything to do with me. You asked a deeper question with regard to, let's say, heaven and hell and judgment. Yeah. Well, that's a tough one, right? I mean, sin, you could put it this way, sin is what puts you in hell, right? And so then you might ask, well, how do you know you're in hell? How about you do anything to get out of it?
Can I ask you
How
a
about
question?
you know that you put yourself there?
Do you think is sin like a part of Christian morality?
What do
to
you mean exactly? Sin as
Like
a part.
the
It's missing
concept
the.
of sin?
Okay,
Yeah.
it's derived from an archery term, and it means to miss the target, right? And so it presumes that there's such a thing as a central target, and that you can miss it in many ways. And the consequence of that will be, your life will be ridden with anxiety. Your life will be pointless.
And what
People
if
will
I,
turn
like,
against you.
don't believe in sin at all?
Well, do you believe in error?
I
Have you made
don't.
any mistakes?
What if I believe that the mistakes that you make, that they're fixable, and so that no sin is finite, and that the
Well,
idea
that's a Christian belief.
of the idea of hell, I don't believe
That's
in
also
it
a
because
Christian belief, by the way.
A Christian belief is hell?
No, that there's no sin that, well, there's one. The sin against the Holy Ghost is unforgivable, but that's really the sin against
By the way, hell, Christian belief. Thank you.
Oh, really? Okay.
I didn't realize that.
What is going against the Holy Ghost? That I actually don't remember. What is that one sin that is too great? Coffee.
What? I'm sorry, I'm zoned out of the bullshit.
How do we
Go
go
ahead.
against the Holy Ghost?
How do we go against the Holy Ghost?
What is the greatest sin?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. All of it's bullshit.
Oh, fuck you. You didn't even help.
I don't go that deep into the Bible.
You know what? That's fair enough. You have the instrumental knowledge to win. You don't need.
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
all I
need-
care about.
Yeah, somebody's like, "Well, what's the deepest sin?" You'd be like, "I don't fucking know. Fuck you, bro."
I don't
How
know.
come
I
God
know,
fucked
it's
up
probably
Job's life?
It's like true. It's like I don't know what your greatest sin is, but I imagine it's not nearly as bad as some of the others.
The greatest sin is listening to Jordan Peterson as an authoritarian.
As an authority.
As an authoritative figure, yes.
I appeal to Jordan Peterson.
process that would enable you to learn.
Okay. But there's a Christian belief that hell does exist, and if I commit sin, I'm going to go there, correct?
Yes.
So what if I don't believe in that? Like I think
Well, okay, let me
that
a-
when you
okay,
can I
that's
explain
good.
a little bit?
Sure, sure.
Okay. Thank you. I think that when you commit sin, that it's because of a lot of environmental factors in your life, like where you were born and who you were raised by. And so there are certain things that lead you down a dangerous path. And once you are dead, I think you're kind of removed of that person. There's no like
I can't
there are
say
no
any- I
factors
can't
of the
say
earth
anything
that have
about
to.
what happens after death.
Right.
So I would ask you, in these times that you've suffered terribly in ways that you thought would never
Yeah.
end, do you believe that you had any causal role in that? Like, did you play a part in that?
In my own suffering.
Yeah.
Maybe
All the time.
sometimes I would say
Okay.
that there was a part that I played
well,
in
that's-
that.
okay,
but I
that's
also
the
do
thing to
think
find
that-
out.
I think that maybe it's like a concept of free will that I don't really believe in somewhat of free will, that I think that there are certain things in your life that lead you to do certain behaviors. And so when you commit those sins, you go to hell. I'm not too sure why you would still be
When you
reaping the
okay,
consequences
do you
of
believe,
that.
like I said, I can't
Yeah.
address that. Do you believe that you can change?
I do.
Do you believe you can change for the better?
I do.
Do you believe that when you change for the better, you abandon the things you've done in the past that weren't good?
I think that you can.
Okay, then
Yeah.
that's very much in keeping with.
I don't
Wait,
know.
what does he mean by abandon?
And then yeah, like be well, I think he in spiritual terms would be like absolved of all sin.
Yeah.
Is probably saying like realistically, I don't think you can ever. Unfortunately, you can never abandon it. But I think you can get to a point where it doesn't eat at you, and that you can become a quote unquote better person. Like I think it's mostly absolving you yourself of your guilt, maybe. But
Or like, I mean, you can still
I mean,
go through,
obviously,
like,
be different from him, but
it would be like a one-sided kind of
Yeah.
forgiveness, or like I've forgiven
Yeah.
myself, and then maybe you try to atone for it or whatever. But
yeah.
Because all of your actions are influenced by your past.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but
So
free
I don't know
will,
how
so-
you can let that go. I don't know. I don't know what he means
Yeah.
by abandon. Or,
Yeah, I mean, like
that would be-
obviously we learn from our past, so it's just I don't know. I don't know.
Christian
We don't know,
doctrine.
Can you
guys.
explain
Yeah.
to me how that's in keeping with Christian
Well,
doctrine?
you believe
if you would go to hell for
okay,
those things?
You believe you can improve,
Yeah.
right? And you believe that if you improved, you would let go of things that were impeding you. That's a sacrifice. You believe that improvement would be upward, and you believe that you have agency in that. Yeah, those are
Okay,
all Christian
who-
presuppositions.
I don't know what you mean when he says like you believe improvement will be upward.
Yeah.
Like everybody thinks that. That's
yeah.
not like
improvement
nobody
is
think-
always upward, basically.
Yeah, or you can be like, well, what exactly do you mean up? Like, why is it up? Why isn't it down? And then we're gonna, what's that? Is that Carl Jung in the collective unconscious knocking at your door? You about to get fucked up right now? And then you just go like, I
Surprise.
mean, sure, like yes, upward, because this is like what we've decided, like up good, down bad. And then he's gonna be like, well, that's a Christian presupposition because you're ascending towards the heavens. But then
Well,
you're like, okay, and
think-
like, and how come it's the same in, like all non-Christian cultures? Name me, fucking say that.
Yeah.
And you
well-
believe that you have agency in that. Yeah, those are all Christian presuppositions.
I guess maybe we have different opinions of what Christian morality is.
Yes, sounds
So I
like
think
it.
that my opinion of Christian morality is something that I don't really agree with, and maybe you would define that as like the foundations
Well,
of
let
Christianity.
me give you an example. So, if you want to atone, which
Yeah.
means to unify yourself and unify that with the world, then the first thing you have to do is figure out what you did wrong and admit it. That's a confession. That was good.
Thank you.
That's a confession. Praise Jesus.
I have a
Choose an
confession.
atheist debate for 10 minutes on a claim of their choosing. Sick, bro.
Yeah. And he
I picked Xena because I think
So- she was really good. She was actually on Ian's debate stream today, which was cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
asked genuine questions and wasn't trying to win.
Okay, well, hello
Hi
again.
there.
My claim
Nice.
is Jordan Peterson's
You're
framework
all
for understanding
being
Christianity.
sued, but Xena, she is transcending towards a higher state. She understands the hierarchy. Thank you, Jordan.
Oh, and here's her claim. Jordan Peterson's framework for understanding Christianity is probably not the one that the Bible intended us to use.
I mean, I don't even know what the fuck the Bible intended us to use. Is it just like
Exactly.
literal? Are the fundamentals
Well,
correct?
that's the well, yeah, it's like the thing, right? Is there's so many different interpretations of it, and then even on some of the fundamentals, I think there's still interpretation of it. So it's like, what do you do at that point?
die. I don't know, throw up.
Just be a deist. God created the universe, and then God fucked off.
Yeah, that's like honestly, that's probably the most like coherent possible position you could hold. To just be like, he was here and then he fucked off. Then he was done.
I just don't have any like counter to that. You know, like there's no contradiction within that belief.
Yeah. It's like I believe in an intelligent mind.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, well, that's the main difference. Well, that is like the difference between deism and theism. Theism implies that he's still working his magic on everything. Yeah.
Also, he's personal. If he's personal, he's a fucking asshole.
I'm taking everything he says personal.
Yeah, seriously.
He killed my entire family and gave me new people. I now have a husband.
He better be hotter, dude.
He better be hotter.
Yeah, you owe me, God.
Yeah, dude. I need an upgrade.
I need an upgrade.
Yeah,
Thanks. Thanks, bro.
One that the Bible.
Yeah, it better be like female Jeff Bezos, so I can be a billionaire or something.
Sure. Did you know what? Did Job ever say anything after he got his new family? I'm assuming he did. Or did we just leave out the part where he was just infuriated?
Oh, he probably was like. What?
Well, it feels like giving him an entire new family is just salt in the wound. To me, it really feels like that.
Sorry, I'm all powerful, but not all powerful enough to bring him back. So here's some new people for you, bro.
You know, it's like personally, I think she's better for you.
Yeah, I'm God. I know these things. I didn't give you the perfect. You were the perfect worshiper, but I didn't give you the perfect life before. So I'm keeping your dead wife, and I'm gonna give you a new one. Now it'll be perfect.
You might have free will, but not in this decision.
Yeah.
Best to use. In regards to the way that you interpret the Bible, I don't see. You have said in some circumstances that there's not a way to kind of say whether or not ontologically the historical claims made by the Bible are true. Like, for example, the story of Cain and Abel. You've said that this story is like a meta-truth in the sense that it exists all throughout time, culturally. And the way that you define meta-truth, I don't see a distinction between that and like a metaphor, right? But and you also say that you cannot say whether this story was true. You can say that it exists eternally, you know, metaphorically, but you can't say that it's true. And if you can't say that there are historical facts being said in the Bible as stories that weren't really said with much ambiguity, how can we say that we can understand the Bible in the way that it's meant to be interpreted? Like, if you cannot make any claims about these stories, right? You don't know whether they're true or false. How do you know that your interpretation is the correct way?
So that's why I picked you. You ask intelligent questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. What do they say? By their fruits you'll know them.
Okay.
Right. Well, so one of the things I look at is the impact of what I'm doing.
That is always the correct.
So
Here, pause it real quick.
evangelical Christian.
Yeah.
In Job 42, 1-6, he gives his final words, and then you don't hear anything.
His closing.
I had heard, yeah, exactly. I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you. Therefore, I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes. What the fuck?
So wait, Job thinks it's his own fault at this point?
Oh my God.
But Job did the thing. Like,
yeah, no, it doesn't even say after the, there's no words after God does what he does. That's his last words within.
Oh.
So he doesn't say, they don't give any information on his kind of reaction to it.
The after credits.
Sounds like his reaction was like, "My bad, God, I'll repent." Even though the whole reason this happened is because God was like, "You see that guy? I bet I can just fuck with him, and he'll still love me."
For this, you know what? And this whole thing is for the sake of proving Satan wrong. Like, why hurt humans for your own little fucking bet?
And it doesn't make sense because if you're all knowing and if you're either all knowing or all powerful, you don't even need to make the bet. Like,
exactly.
Satan's
Yeah, there's also
things.
Yeah.
It's an ego trip.
Yeah, basically. You know, I've seen a lot of like atheists be like, "Yeah, no, I'm on Satan's side," but then I'm also like, Satan hates us. So no, fuck him too. To be honest, but I understand why Satan's pissed at God. I will say that.
I also would be. I would just be like,
like,
see, if Satan was really as evil as they all say, though, he would have been like, I just convinced you to torture a guy for no reason. Get fucked, Jared, and they'd leave.
True. Satan actually got God.
Yeah,
Oh
Satan
my
got the
God.
dub in the end.
Holy shit. Coffee, write that down.
We got it.
That's damn.
Going in the notes.
But it's like, you know, it's because really, like, for Satan and the other fallen angels, God was like, hey, so you have new siblings and I love them more. It's like, wow, you're an asshole. Basically,
love them
well, because
more.
God created the angels to be sinless, though apparently that didn't work. But
because one of them.
yeah,
He can't even make angels right.
Right, it's true. They're just
Dog, they
circles
couldn't-
with eyes.
He couldn't even give us fucking wings, dude.
Couldn't even give us wings. Yeah,
Now we have to drive fucking cars.
Yeah, bro.
wings would have been
What an
so
asshole.
useful. But then we'd probably have to have like hollow bones, and so our bones would break way more easily.
Hey, God doesn't.
Yeah, God
God
can
made
do
a universe
anything.
where I needed hollow bones to fly. This is his fault.
Yeah.
He created physics, dude.
Our
Yeah.
society. We would have built society based upon the fact that we could fly.
Yeah.
We would still
which would've
probably
been sick.
we still have like stairs and elevators for those who were disabled.
Yeah, for the wingless.
Inevitably wheelchairs as well.
Yeah.
You fucking walker. What an asshole.
A lot of Catholics, a lot of Orthodox Christians, a lot of people from other faiths. And they've told me, like many of them, that they found my interpretations very helpful and that it deepened their faith. And so that's interesting because I wouldn't have necessarily expected that to be the case. And I've also talked to thousands of people who've told me that they came to understand the foundational stories of their culture better as a consequence of listening to me, and that they did everything they could to sort out their lives and that it worked. That's many different pieces of evidence that all converge on something like the
what are you talking
practical and conceptual utility of my approach. Now, is it the same? There's a lot of approaches to biblical interpretation historically, and what I'm doing is possibly less new than you think.
Yeah, I want to make a claim on whether this evidence is enough, right, to substantiate whether or not your interpretation is going to, you know, be more plausible, right, be the most plausible. Because in
It's
regards
an open question.
Yeah, right.
You bet.
So in regards to how we interpret the Bible and how we see the Bible, something can add value to someone's life. An interpretation can add value to someone's life. An interpretation can connect you to your conception of what your faith is. But if it's the quote-unquote interpretation that God does not intend, that can lead to a plethora.
That's certainly the case. That's why the medieval Christians were so concerned about heresy.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they felt, and that's why the Catholics objected so much to the Protestant Reformation, because they believed that the fractionation of Christianity would result in an indefinite fractionation, right? Well, and that's exactly what's happened.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely a problem. I think one of the foundational principles, for example, there's a foundational principle in the Old Testament of hospitality. Right. So what you want to do if you set up your local environment properly is to make it welcoming to people voluntarily. And so one of the ways you could judge the validity of the interpretation of a classic story is whether or not that interpretation might be regarded by someone as welcoming. Does that represent something you'd actually like to have if you were acting in your own interest in the long run?
Right, and we can talk about that. Like do
protect you from fear might be another one.
Exactly. So we can talk about like how these interpretations of the Bible, like if they kind of resonate with us. And I think that can in some case be some kind of like evidence, oh, this might be true, but I think we need to ask, is this evidence damning, right? Is this evidence certain, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do want to look at, again, the consequences and our understanding of this interpretation once more. So we look at, again, the story of Cain and Abel, and we say, yeah, so I believe this is a meta-truth. I believe that this story is resonant throughout cultures. That is all true and dandy, and I'm sure that is in some way, the story was put in here for the reason, right? To tell us about, you know, fights between brothers. But also, you can't say I do know or I don't know that this story is false or true in an ontological, historical sense, as a historical fact. Were there two people like that were specifically referenced.
Okay, I don't think that's knowable, but
Right.
I'm not sure why it matters
Right.
to you.
So the reason why it matters to me is because we need to know how we should interpret the things that the Bible says, and the things
Many
that-
ways.
Right, but like if we interpret
Sometimes poetry, sometimes
Let
history,
her
sometimes
speak.
fact,
But for
sometimes
example,
metaphor.
the reason why it's important, right, very important, is because, for example, we can talk about something like God says, I believe it's like 1 Corinthians 15:17, something about how belief in God specifically as someone who resurrected or as someone who died for our sins is important, right? But we have to look at, if we can interpret that as just like, you have to believe that God is a symbol of sacrifice. That is different from believing that there was an actual person named Jesus Christ who died on the cross for our
That's
sins.
true.
So if you believe one and not the other, that can be the difference between you going to hell and you going to heaven. So if we cannot make, like, we cannot say that we know whether or not certain historical facts in the Bible happen, like even as just like events, like because the events matter, because again, God dying for our sins on the cross was an event. If we can't say that we know these things happened, these things did or didn't happen, this then leads us to kind of like the conundrum of how do we know what we are meant to believe, what the Bible intended for us to believe, and this can be very, very important to like our fate. Do you see what I'm
Yep.
saying?
I've got no disagreement with any of that. What sort of response do you want from that?
So
You pushed me beyond the limits of my knowledge.
Really?
Well,
I think that's
there's so many things you can't know.
Too
I'm
stupid to answer
struggling-
your question. All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
I know that the biblical stories are the foundation of Western culture. I know that the consequence of those stories has been the genesis of a society that is in the main freer and more abundant than any societies have ever been. I don't exactly understand the relationship between those stories and that outcome, but it's not nothing.
right.
But I don't know the answer to the questions that you're asking. You know, it's the case that forever when people have been interpreting religious stories, they wrestled with exactly the question that you just described. When is it fact? When is it poetry? When is it music? When is it metaphor? When is it ritual? When is it time-bound?
But what I'm saying is that your interpretation of the Bible, if you cannot tell us, again, if these historical events happened or not, that can be the deciding factor in if someone is like damned to hell for eternity or if they go to heaven, right? So that's why
I don't concern myself so much with that particular question. You know, like that would be something that would stem more from an evangelical viewpoint. And I'm not putting that down, by the way. You're asking me a question I really can't answer.
Okay.
I'm not claiming even that my interpretations are canonically correct. I can only tell you the consequences of having released them into the world, let's say.
Right. So I guess we've kind of come to a
bro.
conclusion about that, which I've kind of wrestled with your framework and pushed it kind of to its end, at least in the way that you can answer my question. So I don't know that we can more wrestle with that.
See, I guess the problem is, you see, I don't.
She's like, well, you can't go any further, so... And he's like, no,
Yeah,
wait, wait.
I mean, that's fair enough that if you're
Yeah.
just like, well, if you don't know, you don't know, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Just like, I'm done.
I think it's fine saying I don't know, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely far superior to that as opposed to just being like, well, you know, actually, if you look at the canonical text,
Yeah.
Jesus, he would have done this. And you're like, what do you know?
What do you...
That was a decent impersonation, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Trust me, I used to watch Jordan Peterson before he became like political. Back when he was just talking about like psychological shit, honestly.
Making your
it was
bed.
Yeah, just make your bed. I read 12 Rules for Life. It's like fine. It's pretty. It is not like a psychotic text. It's like extremely normal. It is just like a normal.
He
it's
seems
like,
like a
maybe
normal...
an above. Yeah, it's like an above average self-help book kind of a thing. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that was useful, cool. Or like I remember I read Maps of Meaning and I thought like that was fine because there wasn't there like all of his discussions about religious shit was always like I'm going to contextualize this religious story as something that like you can learn from in life of like why you should tell the truth. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Even if you just
Yeah.
say like if you say like these stories aren't truth and I'm not a religious person.
Yeah, but this is a good hypothetical example. Or
yeah,
whatever.
like
yeah.
as a metaphor, this story's cool. And that was usually how his books like worked.
Mm-hmm.
At least from what I remember,
Yeah.
is that he would just,
maybe
the
he
problem
just
is that-
started believing it.
Yeah, no, the problem
Yeah,
is that it turns out this was like a Trojan horse where he was like, psych, I believe in all of it. And you're like, oh, fuck, no, he believes in all of it.
Exactly understand. I don't think anybody does the relationship between fact and destiny. You know, well, they're different realms in a way
What does
because
that even mean?
knowing what the world is made of doesn't
even
help you
know.
navigate through it. Not
What does that
really.
mean between
doesn't
fact
provide
and
you with a
destiny?
foundation for
That's not a-
navigation.
That's like
But-
you just said Google Gaga, and like, you expected me to understand what the fuck you just said.
Yeah, yeah. Again, he asks for specifics but refuses to give any himself.
Yeah.
Knowing the facts of the world is obviously useful. And the relationship between those two things, part of that's the mystery of Western civilization and the continued competition between science and religion.
To bridge this kind of understanding between fact and destiny is like an important question that the burden is on Christianity to answer, and specifically interpretations of Christianity. And if we can't do that,
Why is the burden on Christianity?
because it posits, right, that this interpretation, right, is going to be a way to understand God. But if it's faulty, right, that can
What
again,
evidence would you what evidence would you accept?
that would be an interesting question because I've seen people try to answer the question, and I've never really been moved because I can always attack and then kind of gets to this point where the answer is I don't know.
Well, here's an
Okay,
answer.
let's pause there. I'm sorry, that's time.
Okay.
That was actually a
thank you
good
so much.
question from
Well, I
Jordan
definitely
Peterson.
picked the right person.
Yeah,
that was very good.
Thank you
Really,
so much.
very
He,
good.
he just had what would it take for her to believe, basically.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's what I would use in
Yeah.
the Socratic method.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is like, I don't know, God comes down and he like breaks the laws of physics in front of my face. And then I'm like, well,
Just-
shit, bro.
Just be
All right.
like, I'm autistic. I can't understand context clues. He needs to be very direct with me.
But how do you know it's not a super advanced alien technology that is making you think that physics is being bent?
No.
I guess it would be, I would have to like know with one, like, right, like I have a scientist and we know like this is a law of physics that we know is a law, it's not like a hypothesis. And then the physicist is there measuring it. And then he informs me. He is like, God, this being in front of us has just created matter out of nothing, which as far as we know you can't do. Therefore he is God. Or like something like, you know what I mean? It has some shit like,
It's kind of funny because a fair amount of Christians who at least like try to delve deeper into the more of a literal existence of God as like a physical being, they go into Newton's or the law of thermodynamics, I think.
nothing can be created or destroyed or something.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, well, because of this, God is also real. It's like, hold on.
I don't even know. I would need.
Yeah,
to
I don't even
the
know.
exact argument.
Yeah, I think I've heard some of the arguments for it.
Isn't it have to do with like being in a closed system or something?
Something. I mean, like the way I see God is basically we're an ant farm to him. So it's whatever he can do what he wants. This kind of deal.
He just checks in every once in a while to be like,
Yeah.
what are the ants up to?
One time this was a while back before I did like any of the theological stuff. I think it was like talking to someone. It was like, so if I have like one of those little ant farms, you're right. It's like, am I their God because their lives are in my hands? I control their entire world, all this shit. It's like it would basically be functionally the same because like I buy the thing and allow them to be birthed from their eggs. Like
you can interfere with it at any moment, but you don't. You just stare at it.
Yeah. So therefore, I'd be a deistic God.
Yeah, you're a deist entity.
Yeah.
Until you get bored, you're like,
and then I just shake. It's like I'm theist now.
God really does create earthquakes. So he's just we're like a snow.
He
globe.
actually just shakes everything.
Yeah.
Fucking. Yeah. I mean, I'm just waiting for. So. We haven't seen the formation of life from unlife yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we have like all the pieces. Or if not all the pieces, we just need to know how they fit together.
Yeah.
If we can ever achieve that, that is one of God's like biggest features is just thrown out, which is the creation of life. Like I looked into it. I was like, if we ever actually create life from unlife, again, we have like the pieces. We just need to see how they fit together. That'll probably, it'll definitely put a dent in Christianity. Or
it'll take a nice hard swing at it.
Yeah. Will it go away? No, they'll come up with an excuse.
Yeah.
But
Well, then once we figure it out, it'll probably be a lot easier to explain like how it just kind of naturally just happened, like it just poofed.
oh, we're pretty sure it just kind of it happened by random chance. So
Yeah, no,
I say random, but it's like, you know, within the laws of the universe.
Yeah, like if it was anything that is possible to have happened will have happened, and so
Yeah.
clearly life is possible to have happened. So through sheer
Yeah.
random chance, it would inevitably happen.
Yeah, and to the point where we're pretty sure we're not the only living things
Yeah.
in the fucking universe.
Yeah, I can give you a schizo theory about immortality related to that if you ever want to hear.
Ooh,
But...
ooh,
When,
I want to hear that in a sec. Yeah, go ahead, Coffee.
Well, I feel like when we say something random, it just means that we don't recognize the pattern, and that's why I'm
Yeah.
kind of like a determinist, in
Yeah.
which like
Yeah.
we may think something's random, but we just don't understand the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, I know there's a problem, for instance, with computers. They talk about like true randomness because they'll say
Yeah.
like, well, actually, if we
like
analyzed
50.
every like electrode in the computer or whatever,
Yeah.
we could tell you exactly which number it's always going to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Human perception's a silly thing.
Mm-hmm. So, what's your theory on immortality?
It's only got 2 more minutes, or is it over? Are we done?
Oh,
Because
it's
we're shaking
over.
hands. This feels like the
Yeah,
end of it.
it's over. It's over.
Okay.
Effectively over.
Yeah,
maybe
well,
I
Jordan
don't
Peterson.
like
well,
talking to win, but there were portions of all the conversations that were truly productive, and that it's instructive for people to see the distinction.
why does he
right,
look like a 40-year older Shapiro in this image?
He does
to me?
kind of, yeah.
It's
I just
his
don't know
brow.
why he's gotten like so much. At least I feel like so much angrier. Like back in the day when you were watching him, he was so like relaxed about it. Even when he had
Yeah.
students coming up, because the whole thing that made him famous was when he was like, I'm against this law because it's not stopping me from saying something, but it's forcing me to say, like, call someone by their pronouns. Like I think his thing was like, I don't even necessarily care that I'm calling them by their pronouns. It's just like, if I don't, I'm now going to jail. So I don't like that, which I don't know how true that is, but that was what he said.
You won't go to jail for that.
No, at least
Yeah.
he was in Canada, so I don't know. But but like I said, irrespective of all that,
Yeah.
if that like when people were arguing against him, because people just come with like cameras in his face
Yeah.
and argue against him, and he was like really calm and chill about it, and he would just say exactly what I said. He's like, I don't really care about calling someone by their pronouns. That's not really the issue. The issue is that I'm being forced to say something, and I don't think you should force people to say things. It was basically it. And he would just like explain that over and over again. I'm like, oh wow, this is like, he's very relaxed, he's chill. He's gonna talk about Young, very relaxed and chill. Whereas now he's like, it's like, don't be a
Don't be a-
fucked up. Don't shit, bro. I can't say don't be a smartass. Apparently, what the fuck?
Don't be a smart ass.
Kermit the Frog here. Like, don't be a smartass. Don't do it. There we go. I got there.
He's a tone policer but doesn't want to be forced to.
Yeah,
that's
Sure.
interesting.
Hypocritical.
Well, again, this was like, a decade ago at this point.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
fucking-
Well,
So
I'm assuming when he went into this, he had higher expectations in terms of some things, in terms of like attitude. But it was like the atheists were just kind of shooting him down, or attempting to.
yeah,
at the very least.
well, because
I mean,
he wants to do,
no one
he
wants.
wants to talk about the Bible and like
Yeah.
and vibe about Jesus. But
Yeah.
if you're like, well, I fundamentally disagree, and I think it's like morally bad to like promote Christianity, then he's just like fucked.
Yeah.
Now he
Yeah.
can't have his chill
I
little
mean-
fun debate.
People. I mean, I'm surprised he actually even did this. Kind of.
He's been more open to it. He had like he
Yeah.
talked with Destiny and he talked with Alex
Yeah.
O'Connor. I think my guess, if I were to
I'm
skip the post a little bit,
Yeah.
is that because now that he's part of the Daily Wire is like, you need to go and
Oh,
like
maybe.
talk with other people in the space and go on popular shows to build your brand. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if
yeah.
him as an individual was like, I don't really want to do this, but then Daily Wire as an entity was like, well, that's too fucking bad.
Too
We have your
bad.
athlete
You're gonna do
contract.
that. We're gonna do that one thing that you really hate and force you.
Yeah, exactly. Which is debate to win, because that's all this shit is.
Yeah.
Do you want my schizo theory?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the universe has an infinite time, right? And everything that had a probability of existing will at some point exist in an infinite timeline, right?
Sure.
Okay. So we know for a fact that everything that currently exists at one point only had a probability of existing.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. So your existence at one point was a probability, just like a probability.
Okay.
And we know that with an infinite timeline, all probabilities will repeat themselves an infinite number of times.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
it's weird with the universe because
Right.
time may not have an end. The universe is going to change a lot.
Right. But you would
But
still,
yeah.
but it doesn't.
But even still, it doesn't
Like,
matter. It doesn't really matter.
yeah, because my point would be like that just feels like we are now entering the like human brain big timeline cannot compute area.
Sure,
But like
yeah.
my propositions are still correct fundamentally. Like
yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. So
Theoretically, yeah.
theoretically, that would mean. So here's my claim. My claim is not even reincarnation. My claim would be that the only thing you could know with certainty would be that your life, exactly as it has happened, will happen an infinite number of times.
Ooh.
Because all probabilities, like everything that's a probability, will happen an infinite number of times. You being alive was at one point only a probability. All probabilities given an infinite time scale will repeat infinitely.
Yeah.
Therefore, your life will repeat infinitely. This life exactly as it is. Because you can't, any changes would be outside of our like understanding of
Okay.
what is probable.
Okay, so it wouldn't even be reincarnation, but like we come back.
No, it's literally exactly what you've done up to this point will repeat forever.
So funny enough, like I've thought about it. It's like, what if I die and then I just
You just wake
go
up.
do my life over again?
Yeah.
And obviously, like I wouldn't know. So
Right.
so it wouldn't be so bad. But like I think about it, I'm like, I'm gonna have to go through so much suffering.
Yeah. I mean, you can.
To get back
That's
to this
cool. If you, yeah. No, you could definitely be like, well, I hope that's not true.
Yeah. I hope that's not true.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, there would
but
be
then-
kind of a comfort in it because it's like, oh, then I'll have my friends and everything again. But
Yeah, but then it's an actualization. Like it makes because Nietzsche. Oh shit, I'm Jordan Peterson now. Nietzsche had this concept of like he had like a thought experiment where it's basically what I'm just saying, where he's like, if you had to live life exactly as you've lived it again, like would you be okay with that? Like that was his hypothetical, and he's like,
Yeah.
if your answer is no, then you're not living life properly. Like you should want to live your life again. Like that was basically his
yeah,
ultimate thesis.
yeah. I mean, and I think that's a nice thing.
Right.
Basically, enjoy life as much as you can and everything.
Right.
Which,
so then
yeah,
what
sure.
if like but then what if that's like actually what happens? What do you do now?
I mean, you're not gonna know,
Like,
so it
now
doesn't
it's not-
matter.
Now it's not like a cute thought experiment. Now it's like, shit. Does it? Like, will it happen?
Yeah, well, I
Over-
mean, I think I'm taking my life in a much more positive direction right now. But I'm 34 years old, so it's like like obviously I haven't been through as much stuff as someone that's like 50 or whatever. But like, well, on average, we'll say. But like, to get to this point where I'm feeling okay at the moment, at least, it's like, would I really want to go through all that again? But I'm not
Right.
going to know anyway, so what does it matter?
Right,
But yeah, so
exactly.
so it doesn't matter. So like regardless, it's like I can make the attempt to make my life better.
Exactly. Like it
yeah.
doesn't, because then it's just like, well, it doesn't actually
It's
matter.
a lot of fluff. It's a lot of
Yeah,
fluff.
what matters is that like the moment you have the idea in your brain,
yeah,
then you're like, well, fuck.
I mean, giving that hypothetical is definitely an existential, like, it's existential, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
god, if that is the case, then maybe I really should pick it up. So
Yeah,
you can certainly use it for that. I probably won't use that in therapy when I become a therapist. But
You don't want to think about it?
Yeah.
Don't bother.
Yeah, don't think about it.
But it definitely.
just admit to my patients. Yeah, I'm an existentialist. Just feel.
Yeah.
Just like you have to create your own meaning. It's like people have a hard
Well,
time with that.
Well, then.
I had a really hard time not long ago.
Yeah. Well, then it's like, well, I think everything becomes. To be fair, I don't know if this is true because I don't know shit about physics. That would basically be
Yeah.
my caveat. Is I don't know diddly squat about physics. So it could just be like, well, like technically yes, but also no, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, then where do I get meaning? Well, it's like, well, that means every time I create suffering for myself, it's literally infinite suffering. I've literally, like, every time I make myself hurt, I create hell, like, unironically. And then, but every time I create pleasure for myself, I create heaven, unironically, because that's infinite.
Yeah, you could use something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, or you know what I mean. I'm just using these as like metaphors. Literally hell, even though I said literally hell, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Then it's like, ooh. So I think suddenly, like, and then you just know, like, well, I'm gonna live in this exact body in this world forever, for eternity. So it's like, fuck, I might as well.
I should make this.
Try to make it better. Like, fuck, I'm stuck. I'm literally stuck here for eternity.
Yeah, and future me is gonna hear this conversation and think the same shit.
Yeah, exactly. And past you has probably heard this conversation before.
Yeah. Oh God, that's a horrible thought that I've had past selves. Or is it comforting? I'm not sure if that's comforting. And then you have to wonder, is it going to be quote unquote the same soul?
It would 100% be.
Oh my God.
100%, no question. Because you know for a fact that you can be ripped from the ether. There's no
Giddy. Oh no, did the cat just shut him off?
Wait, what?
No, so his cat, he was saying something, his cat just hopped up onto, I think, his like computer tower, and now he's frozen.
Oh, he is frozen.
I wonder if the cat hit the power button and restarted his computer.
It's a perfect here, I'm gonna screenshot that shit.
You should. Did you get a picture of me staring at him? Oh, never mind. It looks different for you. Damn it.
That's so funny. He looks like he's about to do some preaching.
It's true. He's calling out. He's beckoning to Jordan Peterson.
My cat decided to hop on my PC.
We saw that. I was watching your camera in that very moment. Yep, I saw your cat go up, and like just barely a bit of your cat was still in the frame. It was just blurred and it froze.
Fucking
so
asshole.
Good. Yeah.
But that's the other thing. That is definitely another thing that's like spooky about it, though, is that I'm like, no, you don't understand. Literally. Exactly as you've lived life will happen exactly the same.
Mean,
like
there's the theory of, what was it, like the big crunch and the big
the expansion
an expansion and a crunch and an expansion and a crunch of all time.
Big bounces and big crunches.
Yeah, big bounces. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I looked it up once, and that's supposedly not how it goes. I had another,
but we don't know.
I had another crazy skit. So, all right, again, I don't know anything about physics. We need a physicist on this one. So I was like, how do we solve for this? Like, if the crunch isn't real, but probability is going to happen an infinite number of time, and then I was thinking, like, well, we know, or we don't know, but like black holes and all that shit. Those are punctures in space and time, right?
No.
What are they then? Explain to me.
They are just so we're not 100% sure on this, but in the center of a black hole there is the singularity. It's an almost infinitely dense point in space to where it so a black hole is actually a sphere.
Right.
Yeah. And all it does is it doesn't create like a hole, it's just it sucks in light. So it makes it look like that, basically. It's near infinitely dense, if not infinitely dense. It probably can't be infinitely dense, obviously, but like, you know. So
right, but we would acknowledge time as like a dimension. That's really all I need.
Yeah.
I just need to acknowledge that the universe exists in like 4 dimensions.
So it depends. So we're not 100% sure if time exists. Funny enough.
Right.
But
well, then even if it doesn't, then my thesis is still correct, because then you just get reset back to when you're experiencing time.
Sure, yeah.
That goes.
Yeah, so either way, it wouldn't matter, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if you'd be able to argue this with black holes, but
Right. So I didn't need black holes. All I needed was that, like, if there is a fourth dimension of time. So if time doesn't exist, then that means, irregardless, I'm back, bitch, and we're going through. Because time doesn't exist unless I'm experiencing it. And then there's like the weird
there's a few.
I'm thinking of the weird Einsteinian notion of time, where it's like the time. Do you guys know the time cube?
The time cube. Oh, I know about like relativity.
Okay, no, this is a schizophrenic guy. This is a
okay.
Hell
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
All right,
I'm ready.
But there's a like Einstein's idea of time was that it's just like it's like a thing that's already happened and right, like it's just static basically, and we just like move through this static thing. So that to me that it still indicates, like, I don't know if I like, what does that mean if I die? But irrespective of that, the other thing would be like, if I don't know anything about physics, if the universe is like X, Y, Z, and then a fourth axis, because time is like another axis, then that could mean it's a fourth dimensional shape, which still would mean, so that would mean like you couldn't, you could see the universe, like if it's a fourth dimensional, like in on itself structure, you could never see the 3D objects move away, or like you can never see the 3D objects coming to like touch one another. Imagine the universe is like
I see what you're saying.
a 4D Morbius strip kind of a thing.
There have been theories about that, I believe, and like the universe itself would actually be a specific shape. Basically, you could go all the way out. I mean, it's kind of weird because the universe is still expanding,
right?
So, but and we don't know what it is on the outside. But like one of the theories is that if you went all the way to one side of the universe, you would just inevitably come right back around.
Yeah, you loop back around. Exactly. So it's like a 3D Morbius strip, which means eventually all that shit is gonna expand and then loop back and just crash into itself again.
Oh, and then it would expand back out. I mean, that's
right.
So eventually, theoretically, all the mass would just
coalesce into a single point again and expand back out.
Maybe.
I mean that's interesting. Like, think about it. The entire force.
Well,
of the universe...
if that's the case, yeah.
Yeah, if that's the case.
Though
so basically, fellas.
But I think that would be 4-dimensional space, and time is not space. So.
What are you doing? Right, but it's a fourth dimension or whatever. I don't know. Now I just know I'm like, but it's a fourth dimension. So fucking explain that, science bitch.
Oh my god. So I was actually doing some research on like quantum fluctuation, and the reason I was doing this is because like
that was an annoying ass sentence. I was doing some research on quantum fluctuations.
Yeah.
Right, continue.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up. And the reason I got into this conversation is because that guy we were talking with yesterday, I think, or the day before, or whatever. He was talking about, the beginning of the universe, blah, 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 blah. It's like there has to be the first mover, the progenitor of everything to cause the first motion in the universe type deal. And obviously there's, like, scientists don't know, but obviously I don't think Christians do either. But I was like, okay, well, I'm going to look up some motion shit. And there's this pervasive plane throughout the entire universe. This is why vacuums can never truly be like a vacuum. Is there's this incredibly low level of quantum energy. They call it 0 point energy or vacuum energy. As far as they know, it's the lowest form of possible energy that can ever exist. And occasionally there at least from what we observe, there are things called virtual particles that literally basically pop in and out of existence.
I know this one.
Yeah. So, and those actually like create the base motion for everything. But then they would be like, oh, well, what created that? And you're like, shut the fuck up.
And that created the universe.
I created the universe. You can't disprove that.
True.
Yeah. The universe started last Thursday.
Everything that exists without my knowledge exists without my consent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it must all.
As
be
far
true.
as I know.
But yeah, what do you?
I don't know
that's
if you're real.
So that's my schizo immortality argument.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I thought
I
it was.
think about that a little bit more.
I thought it was just gonna go to like inevitably there would be a biological organism that would be immortal. And I was like, well, have you heard about the immortal jellyfish?
Yeah, no, that doesn't even need to be it. It's
Yeah,
just like
no, no, it's very much just not that.
yeah,
That's not what you're talking about.
Because I read it, there's one guy who had like, there's one philosopher who had an argument, and his argument was basically like, we know for a fact you can be ripped from the ether, so there's like no reason to assume that wouldn't happen again. And then my problem with that is basically just like, oh well, I don't know, like. Especially because I'm very just like my brain is me, like that's kind of like the physical gooey thing in here. That's like all. It's not like all I am, but that's like the experience.
Yeah.
So then it was just like,
it's how you know who you are.
Yeah, and I was basically like, there's no reason to assume in like reincarnation. Like basically, I don't think I could be reincarnated as anything but a human, and even then, like I just don't think you'd be reincarnated. Like really happen.
Also, how does that work if like the souls, like how does it work with like reproducing? Because we'll exponentially reproduce. So when are the souls like created?
Yeah. Or are they like or like how does
Yeah.
You would basically just be like
the progenitor
animals
soul.
or something, maybe. You'd be like, all those dinosaurs, they're the people now. Like or some shit like that. I don't know.
Well, if I'm not a Bronchiosaurus, I'm gonna be pissed.
I just want to be like I want to be a cute little Troodon or something.
Oh, that would be cute. Yeah. All right, boys, I gotta go. I have work tomorrow morning.
All right.
Okay.
See you.
All right, peace out, guys. You guys are awesome.
You too. All right. Yeah. We can keep talking. I was thinking of maybe just ending the stream at this point. We could just keep shooting the shit if you want.
Yeah, we can end the stream because it's not really a debate or a video. We need to watch more Hassan so we can get more hate.
Some more hate. Maybe get some more B1. All right. Well, for those of you who may still be tuning in, thank you for coming to the stream. Check out Deadliest Squid check out Squid at Deadliest Squid, both on Twitch and on YouTube. Thank you to Aurora Debates for functionally sponsoring our stream or letting us post.
We appreciate you.
Yeah. So have a good night, everybody.